We are having fun.
We're having a good time. You have to make it look natural, though, because it's on TV.
Joe, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't think this is a good idea. No one wants to see us live. What were we thinking? What were we thinking?
Certainly no one wants to see it.
People would want to watch this nonsense.
Well, I think they think it's better when it's not edited.
Yeah, that's
just
true.
wrong.
No, it's much, much worse.
It is far worse. Are we on?
We are on, buddy.
Are we good?
It says we're playing Pac-Man for some ungodly reason.
What's up, everybody?
I'll change that while you give them a little warm-up speech.
Oh, jeez.
Joe, can you warm up the crowd for me? Because I don't like talking to an unwarm crowd. I won't do it.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? Who do we got in the house tonight? Who's here fundamentally doomed? What's going on? Hey, it's Rhea. Great to see you. Todd won out. Andrew Moore's in the house. He's going to be acting as a mod for us tonight. Thank you so much. Lee Noko, please. What's a stream without Lee Noko?
All the classics.
You might as well just shut down. I mean, there's just no point in continuing.
We're the original two, buddy. This goes back to our first... I remember you were at work one day, and I said, I want to start twitching. And you were like, it's a lot of work, man. I'm like, I think it'll be fun. I'm going to play Dark Souls anyway, so why don't I have one game that I'm playing and one game that I'm twitching? And you were like, okay. And remember I practiced at work, and you watched me go through the prologue?
I did, yeah. I was in the office while I'm typing. I'm like... You sound terrible. And you missed that item on the right. You're like, no, we're not doing the actual video game here. We're just testing the stream.
Yeah, and then here we are. All right, tell them what we're doing today.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, GCP Natione, we're doing Cannon Fodder Live, episode 91. And we're still working out all the equipment. We're working out the kinks. I think you can see it's an improvement over last month.
This is a massive improvement.
Massive improvement. We actually have some better quality audio. We would love it if you guys chimed in. Let us know if something's a little off in terms of the audio or video. Let us know if things slow down or get a little wonky, and we will stop, reboot, reset, restart, and get going.
Yep.
We're going to have a couple of shandies.
Couple shandonis,
because it's July.
But we're spoiling the show, though.
Oh, yeah, we're spoiling the show.
I shouldn't even be showing them.
Shouldn't be. Yeah, this is all. See, this is the special stuff that nobody that isn't on the Twitch is going to see. So
yeah, when you listen to Cannon Fodder next week, you're not going to hear any of this. This is all gone until we actually start the show. This is just us just warming up and saying hi.
Aramil, what's going on? Vicky Games in the house.
Vicky Games, you son of a gun.
April's here. Little Red, welcome.
The whole gang.
Dungeons, Dragons, and Dives.
Classic.
Good to see you. Jimbo Slice. Love it. Smokey. God,
love that name.
What a good crew. What a good crew to do a little Cannon Fodder with. So we're not going to waste much more time here. We're going to get settled here. We're going to get a little silence.
Little silence, little warm-up.
Little burp off the mic so that we can get Cannon Fodder ready for actual recording.
All right.
It'll release next Thursday.
Next Thursday, yes.
So, yeah, we're... I'm ready to start the
Grant
show.
Burger.
Grant Burger.
I think I'm ready.
Grant Burger. How's my mic sound?
Yours sound great.
Burger.
It's barely audible. That's how I like you.
Natty 17.
Natty 17. You've never said that.
I was playing Grant Burger.
Ah, okay.
I was playing a character trait.
Fair enough. All right, Joe.
I got my show notes here.
It's you had show notes? I don't have any notes. You didn't give me any notes.
I'm doing my Jon Stewart.
I got
my show notes.
I'm going to be totally off the cuff. All right, we got 88 people watching. I have guaranteed a 200-person crowd tonight. Joe thinks I'm crazy. I think it's going to happen.
I think you're a maniac. If we're not at 200, guys, go out and get the 200. Go get them. Call your friends.
Just right. Shout from the rooftops.
Call your parents.
Bring in the ice cream man.
Just tell your parents to download Twitch. Well, not download. Oh, look, I sound like a parent. Tell your parents to log on to Twitch through their browser. Sign up for an account. Super easy.
It's very complicated.
It's extremely complicated.
All right, let's
get some silence.
Guys, can we get some silence? We need some room noise here.
Blake, can we get some silence,
Blake, please put the kids to bed. We need silence. Sorry, I yelled.
No, you're not.
Shh.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Cannon Fodder 91.
Yes.
My name is Joe O'Brien.
And I am Troy. I hate the person I'm with, LaValle.
Your wife?
You.
You hate your wife?
You. I hate you.
Why would you say that in front of all these people?
I don't know. I was
On air.
I was put on the spot.
Live, no less.
I thought it'd be fun.
Put on the spot. You had 3 weeks to prepare that opening.
I got a lot going on, Joe. I've got 17 shows to edit. I got to work with you and try and boost this failure of a show and make it
my
popular
God.
again.
Get out of here. This show.
Here we are.
This show is skyrocketing.
Well, now it is.
Well, we're live, and we have a ton of friends here on Twitch watching us live. We're doing this a week ahead of the actual release date. Hopefully, those of you that are not able to join us tonight are listening to this on our audio release on the last Thursday of July.
Like cavemen.
What is that date? Probably should have had that prepared. Is that July 28th?
Sure.
July 28th, I'm going to say. I think that's wrong.
Listen. Remember when people used to listen to Cannon Fodder after the fact?
Oh, that's so funny. No, we are here tonight to talk about, the GCP, Androids and Aliens.
Okay.
Ruins of Aslan, maybe a little GCP Network or GCP Nation news.
I don't want to discuss that.
Okay.
I want to
I
keep
know
that completely to myself.
But the bulk of it, Troy. Listener mail, baby.
Oh, listener mail!
We have so many people logged on here to hang out and ask us questions, so we want to get to your questions. That's the highlight of the show for
and
us.
listener female.
And listener female. Listener females as well.
Yes.
Can also submit questions. We have a lot to cover.
We do.
So I want to jump into it, but I want to be a little careful. I appreciate anybody who's jumping in here that isn't caught up.
Right.
But be aware, before we continue here, there's going to be spoilers coming.
It's impossible not to have
not
spoilers.
only because of what a crazy month it was.
Wild.
In the GCP, but because we have access to all these people online who are going to be asking us questions, so we have no way to contain the spoilers. If you are not caught up to GCP episode 164, Androids and Aliens 15,
Yep.
and Raiders of the Lost Continent 15.
Yep.
That'll be the last time they ever coincide in episode numbers in a week.
That is very true.
If you are not caught up to those, be aware. Proceed with caution.
This is what you should do. Like, leave your browser on, because we want the numbers, but don't watch.
But leave the computer.
Just leave the computer.
Mute it, walk away.
Turn it to here so it doesn't actually go to sleep. We need the numbers, but we don't want you watching. You're going to ruin it for yourself. And guys in the chat room, don't ruin it for other people. Let us do the ruining. We'll ruin everything. Don't worry.
We're plenty good at doing that. All right, let's talk about the Glass Cannon podcast. I think that's
right.
going to be the bulk of what I want to talk about tonight, because what
Ease in.
a month. The last time we recorded Cannon Fodder,
Yes.
Lorc had not fought this giant with a scythe.
He had not, no.
Well, he had actually. He was in the room, but he had not gone toe-to-toe with him.
Right, we had that sort of that speech I gave at the end of an episode with that character, and then Orpheus came out, and that was we'll see you next.
No. This was Baron Gun Jam.
Oh, so it was
So it was
mid-fight.
a mid-episode.
mid-fight.
So it was mid-fight.
Okay.
People had seen that mid-fight while we started Cannon Fodder.
Right.
Didn't know that next episode we were gonna lose our own Lorc Iron Tusk. Brutal. And so I just want to ask you.
Yes.
We talk about character death a lot. We have various times on Cannon Fodder, and we've pinpointed a few central things that tend to happen.
Yeah.
Critical hits, falling damage, drowning came up. I think
Drowning's a big one.
Drowning's a big one. I can't remember any others off the top of my head, but I just wonder what would you say killed Lorc? Because it's none of those things. It was not a crit. It was not falling damage. It was not drowning. What was it that caused his untimely demise?
You ran in heedlessly. You lorked. You did exactly what Lorc would do. And then it's up to me as the GM to decide, well, am I going to not do what I'm supposed to do in this case and go soft on you and go running across the room and provoke 19 attacks of opportunity to attack someone else to share the wealth? Or do I step up and continue attacking you? And I think you and I both played it the way that would go in real life. So I think what happened was you weren't playing it safe. which is something we talk about a lot in games. Sometimes characters play it too safe, and then, combats can kind of drag on. It can be boring. I think that type of game playing has its place, but if you do that all the time, it's boring. I think you need more flavor. You tend to go maybe too far in the other direction. You get so wrapped up with these characters, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think you just think, well, Lorc would never just walk away. He would never stop doing this, because if he steps away, that thing's going to go kill Pembroke. That thing's going to go kill Feyraza. Am I wrong? I think you tend to get wrapped up in what this character would do.
Well, you said a lot there. I'll start with let me back up to the idea of him kind of a character putting themselves in danger to play the character right. I mean, do you think that means that a player has a death wish for that character?
No.
I mean,
because if the dice roll your way, you're going to become victorious. But we've seen going all the way back to the 70s that doesn't work when you're one-on-one against a creature.
Sure, but it's also, I do disagree. I think that I was not playing that way. I think that I was trying to, quote-unquote, get away. I had rolled that combat maneuver check in order to get around and to the other side and out into the other room. I was out in the other room. You left the room that he was in to come and get me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't me tanking necessarily. I put a lot of distance between us and attempted to split the party, so to speak, but in a positive way, so that the enemy had to either go left or go right. And if he went towards my allies, wouldn't be ideal for them, and that would bum me out. But I could also just unload arrows on this guy. So
Right.
I thought it was very possible that I was getting away and not tanking. But when he closed on me, I also wasn't too worried. I have the defensive bow stance. I can do this I can do ranged attacks without provoking attacks of opportunity. To me, all of that lined up to say, I had a chance. For me, I don't think that it was that. I think that it was a combination of die rolls, which is always easy to say, but in this case, I mean, you didn't even really roll high.
No.
So in that instance, I would say it's partially the build. I mean, Lorc's build is not good, but it's also partially the. It's not just the build; it's also the. You're like, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that you are trying to. You're putting Lorc in this position to get hit, and you don't even have to roll that high because his build isn't that good. But if I am rolling, fumble, and then like 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, whatever I rolled right in a row.
As you do.
Yeah, as you do. If those things hit, I think it's a different combat. I think that it's great fodder for a second chance theater, because I think in the same exact situation, if the die rolls went a slightly different way, I think he could be okay. I do. I just think that it's alarming that such low rolls did that to him. I think it's partially the build, also partially underleveled. He's a 9th level character playing in an area where 4 characters are supposed to be 11th. We only have 1 that's 11th and 2 that are 10th and 1 that's 9th. So I think that kind of factored in as well, but that was all part of the design of the game. That doesn't bother me in the least. But, I was just trying to figure out, like, what really happened, and because it's not one of those major things. You know?
Well, the listeners also don't have the benefit of seeing the map. We do our best to try and like give the play-by-play of like, all right, so this guy's here to the right, to the left, but sometimes you get lost in listening to the action. You're not picturing the room as a listener. In that moment, I was very limited with who I could attack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would have to cross all the way to the other side of the room, and I know if I get too close to Baron, he's just going to light me up.
Right.
So it
You
becomes
gotta stay 25 feet plus.
Stay 25 plus
from Baron.
Of course, with long shot, you're going to stay even farther away. But like that makes it difficult. But we even said, I think on the episode, if not, we said it off air. Like after Orphis went down, we all, myself included, I didn't voice it, was just like, oh, mop up duty.
Yeah.
We got this guy.
No, I totally thought that.
Yeah.
And, it's funny what you say about Baron, because sometimes I think I could easily say that, like, that Lorc adventures, or I guess adventure through the different characters I have played. I get the opportunity to continue adventuring at the pleasure of Baron Ashpeak.
Yeah.
Like, without his damage output, all of us are dying. So staying near him is a great way to not only get the enemy within 20 feet of him, but also to get the target on him, because he's the one laying out the damage, and you tend to attack the PC that's really hurting you a lot because you're like, this is what this character would do. This is what this monster would do.
Right.
Speaking of monsters, how awesome is it that we have these minis set out in front of us? We have
Aren't they great?
the Demogorgon, a couple ogres.
Yeah, this thing I love. It's an iron golem.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that sweet?
Those are from PaizoCon, right?
Yeah, water elemental. Pretty sweet.
So we continue on to 162, which blows up the message boards. People are going nuts over this episode. And I will say it was a very similar reaction at the table. I mean, we went nuts. We shut down that recording and we couldn't stop talking about it. We were peppering you with questions. And so, I just kind of wonder, we've talked in the past on Cannon Fodder about knowing when to end a storyline. That is a topic we've discussed before, and we have ended storylines on the Glass Cannon podcast. If you don't feel it's time yet, how far do you go? What is do you worry with what you did in 162? Do you ever worry about opening up storylines that you don't have time to finish?
No, I never worry about that. It's certainly not at this point. If you ask me that question at the end of book 5, you're probably going to see a lot less like open threads happening there. If anything, I'll be advancing these threads that I'm sewing in 162 and threads that I was sewing in episode 13. You know what I mean? Like I want those to run their course over the 300 episodes that we're doing. Like any good TV series is the way I think about this. Like when you're in your penultimate season, you're going to ask a couple more questions, but you're not going to ask 500 new questions. You know what I mean? So that doesn't worry me. If anything, I just think it adds such a richer dimension to everything because you never know from week to week what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the end of book 3 is the return of, or not the return, but like Della's mom.
Right.
Shows up in True Now.
There's another storyline.
Yeah. You don't think I'm thinking about that and know exactly what I'm going to be doing with that? You got, a lot of loose ends. Sir Will is gone.
Right.
Doing who knows what.
Yeah.
Getting into what kind of trouble. And, Galabras is still coming to... in my head, I have a vision of how this all ends, but that changes all the time. There are times in the show where I make major changes to things that I had been working a long time on just because something comes to me
on
in
the
moment.
fly.
On the fly, yeah. And I don't want to say it. Maybe after everything's done, I'll
2021,
sometime in the late 2030, I'll go through and say like, that in the moment that was originally going to be so and so, but then I said no, it's going to be this. But I don't.
Just going with your instincts.
Yeah.
I think there's a million questions for 162. I'm going to leave that up to you guys.
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to ask questions on that,
save them for listener mail.
Feel free. We get a new character also in the Glass Cannon podcast in the form of Four Bears. Your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Four Bears?
Like all your characters? Terrible. Just a real shitbag.
Just a real kind of blank canvas. Nothing going on there. Nothing interesting.
Nope. Doesn't speak common. Really great for radio.
Really great for radio. Really great for radio.
No,
Aren't you liking my show auntie, though?
I love it, man. I think it's great. You've got this cheat sheet. They can't see you, but you've got this cheat sheet you work off, and I'm like, how are you coming up with these sounds out of your mouth with this sheet in front of you?
Yeah.
And talk to them a little bit about what this language that you're coming up with. It's like an amalgamation?
Yeah, it's an amalgamation of a few different Native languages, Native American languages, mostly Navajo, though, because it has a lot of those vowel sounds that I really like, and without that sort of guide, I would be completely lost in how to really kind of get across what I think that language would sound like.
Yeah.
Which is all I'm really trying to do. And then there's several keywords that I searched online, things like giant and help and thank you and no and attack and yes and stuff like that, where I looked up specific words and I have a whole spreadsheet of those with their translation. And in a lot of cases, I changed what the word said it actually was. And in some cases, because I couldn't really pronounce it.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, this is a really hard word to pronounce, so I'm just going to tweak it a little bit.
So maybe giant, you would do like big person or something like that.
Right, exactly. Just to make it a little easier, a little bit more straightforward. But I haven't really done that before at the table. And with every new character I bring in, I always want to experiment with something new, not only mechanically, but also from a role-playing standpoint. And not just like a new backstory or a new attitude or a new alignment, but a new kind of fundamental characteristic that forces you to do something different at the table in your acting. You know? and in this case, I wanted to experiment with using a foreign language a little bit more at the table. And I had plans. I didn't talk to Skid in advance to see if Pembroke spoke Shoanti. It was neat to find out that he did. I didn't know that, and that really helped a lot.
Yeah.
But I had other ideas in case that hadn't been the case. But curious to see kind of where that all goes. It's so new that I don't really want to get too far into it.
Yeah, I noticed Bo the Show pointed out, and I've seen this pointed out on the subreddit as well. They love how Pembroke is misinterpreting some of the words to you.
Yes.
It's such a great little role-playing thing that Skid's doing, just slightly getting the words wrong. It really adds a lot of flavor.
It's also neat how Pembroke, when he talks to me, he's doing it in on the show. He does it in English,
right?
But he's speaking in Shoanti, and so, but he deliberately slows his language down and chooses his words much more carefully, and sometimes uses overly complex words for simpler concepts in order to, because he's struggling with the translation. It's very Skid.
Yeah, it's very Skid.
Very, very Skid.
One thing I realized, we forgot to turn the lights on, and it's going to get very dark soon. So Joe's going to turn the lights on, and it's really not going to add a whole lot because the lights here are garbage.
It's intimate lighting.
But that's a little better. Look at us now. Now they can see us, Joe. Now they can see us.
Far better.
It's gonna be funny when this is just pitch black at the end of the show. That'll be fun.
Well, let's keep it cooking here.
Yeah.
In 164.
Just don't remember it. They all blend together.
We go into this temple, man. We start seeing some really dark stuff, and I'm curious, just honestly, like, you're my buddy. We've been playing for a long time.
I wouldn't go that far.
I know the way that you are.
Yes.
You're an awful person.
Yes.
Would you even consider playing in a game where there were limits placed on like the comfort level of how dark and evil things go?
I personally, no.
You would just...
I wouldn't.
Thanks, but no thanks.
No. Now, if I was trying to introduce this game to new people, or if I was playing with a group that was more sensitive to certain things, then I'm not going to just be like, I'm not just going to bear my way through and make them unnecessarily uncomfortable.
Sure, and to be clear, I'm not talking about like Troy's running a game at Gen Con. I'm talking about like an ongoing campaign with a group of friends.
Yeah.
If restrictions were put on some of that stuff for very good reason. You personally, I can't see you playing in that game.
I don't like restrictions in general. You know what I mean? I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or make anybody, like I said, unnecessarily uncomfortable. But like I don't like restrictions. I like going there. Mm-hmm. I don't know who said this, but they said that like art, art should be hard to swallow sometimes. It should be really difficult to get down because sometimes while you're chewing on it and digesting it, it's awful, but at the end of it, you learn something from it. And that's why I like making the darks dark and the lights light sometimes. And how dark can I go? How light can I go? It's a constant, artistic experiment, I think, that I never thought I'd be able to do in a role-playing game. But like when you get to something like Urgathoa, it's sex and violence is very intrinsically linked. I want to go there. If anything, I want to go there even more, just the fact that we have a huge audience. I want to make sure that I'm like, I went a little too far.
Tapering it a little bit, yeah. I think that I want to bring up something that actually came up in an email to us because it connects both the death of Lorc and what you have here with this pushing of the dark and terrifying stuff that bothers Skid. I mean, not in like a real way, but like, it freaks him out a little bit. Yeah. And so, but you like to push that. You like to push his buttons a little bit. And with how difficult combats are, and obviously the entire history of the show, we got a great question from Jackson in Boulder, Colorado, which it's interesting. He's like, do we worry about fostering the idea of this belief that it's the GM against the players, that there's this antagonistic relationship where we are all fighting against you? Now, obviously, we have said over and over and over on Cannon Fodder that's a group effort, that players need to support their GM, that everybody's in this together. 100%. No question. I don't think he questions that either.
No.
But nonetheless, we still do, to people that don't really know the game that well that are listening to our show, we really push that vibe. And so he's wondering, like, is that the way we really are, or do we play it up because there's an audience?
I mean, I think that should be always something ever present at the table. You know what I mean? Us versus you. But even in a play, that even when that's like happening, it should still be in a playful way. Like no one's trying to be like, I'm glad that you're upset right now. You know,
Right.
Although I do take joy in seeing you guys upset. But that's my own
Me
personal
especially.
thing, because I know like if I can get you guys upset, the audience, hopefully I can create that same visceral reaction. And likewise, sometimes you guys piss me off, and I'm sure there are people like, yeah, fuck Troy, you know, they got him.
Yeah.
But I think
He deserves it.
I think that adversarial relationship has to be one that everyone is aware. You never forget that you're playing a game, because sometimes people forget. We've had sessions where people forget this is a game for an audience.
It's just supposed to be
and we've
fun.
got to stop and be like, why don't we take 5? Because
Cool off.
people are going to listen to this, and we sound like idiots yelling at each other. So let's calm down, come back, and play the game.
Right.
But it's hard sometimes to like you're competing. But I don't think you should always try to compete. I think you should compete with the GM sometimes, not necessarily against the GM.
I don't really, you know me, I am incredibly competitive. I don't understand a concept of not playing against the GM. Like,
Right.
of course, I play to support my GM, and I want to support and trust my GM in all cases. But it baffles me, the idea that there would be a gaming group around there that, like, every time their GM is annihilating them, they're like, man, this is so fun.
Right.
It's so great to just see you doing so well, GM. Like, what? It doesn't make any sense to me. To me, playing up that relationship is something has always been my experience. Not just on this show, before this group, when I was a kid, that was always the vibe. And I don't mind if you do. And I thought that it was really fun. I thought it was really fun that way. Now, does it get pushed too far sometimes? Has it gotten pushed too far in my games? 100%. Are there things I regret doing or saying as a GM and as a player? 100%.
Sure.
Lost my temper here and there. It happens. But that said, I do think that there are some of the most fun that I've had GMing has been when I am failing left and right, and my players are berating me and just leaning on me, and those end up being really, really fun sessions.
Yeah.
And so you have to build up that animosity towards you in order to get that sort of reaction when things do go their way.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the competitiveness of GM versus players. You don't want to take it too far so that you're always that way, because
Sure.
then you're going to get to a point where the GM doesn't want to play with you anymore.
Right.
And if the GM doesn't want to play with you, you're out. If you don't want to play with the GM's probably going to stick around because nobody else wants to be the GM. So
Right.
you got to choose your battles.
Yes, and also know that there's non-game time and there's in-game time. Just like for us, there's when the recorder is off and when it's on. So we can easily, the recorder, as if we have like 2 reels going. There is this element of like, talk to your players between sessions. If something seemed to bother them, just check it in. That wasn't real. Was that really bothering you?
Right.
Because like
You're not really mad.
Yeah, I can dial it back, and let's talk about your character. That was awesome when your character did that. Let's can we expand on this a little bit more?
Yeah.
Or as a player going to your GM and being like, I haven't been really enjoying this aspect of the game that much, rather than in the session just like blowing up because you rolled a 1, but meanwhile you've had these things you've wanted to say, but you haven't said them. That open communication between sessions is really important, to not have that kind of relationship, so that when you're at the table, it does become kind of a performance. And you can let loose a little bit and play it up, because when you're in between sessions, you're building better relationships and a better game.
Yeah, and there's sometimes I'm not mad when you guys are beating me, but I'll play it up like I'm angry because I know you're enjoying that.
Oh, I love doing that.
Yeah.
I love doing that as a GM.
Like, you sons of bitches. Meanwhile, I'm like, let's just get this combat over with.
Exactly.
I could literally care
Thank
less about
God
this.
they got out of this combat. Yeah. All right, let's move on to a little androids and aliens.
Oh, wow.
Little science fiction. We do a science fiction podcast called Androids and Aliens. I have been loving it. Every time we bring it up, we say that we love it so much.
Uh-huh.
I'm curious, just checking in. 15 episodes in, I think that's a pretty decent sample.
Sure.
Do you like GMing Starfinder? Do
I
you
do.
like it as much as Pathfinder? More? Little less? Where are you at just as a
Ooh.
GM? I'm not talking about Dead Sons.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Giant Slayer. I'm talking about GMing this system right now. Do you look forward to it more than Pathfinder?
Well, I'll tell you what. I enjoy running a low-level campaign, regardless of what the game is.
Okay.
I really enjoy it because
Let's try to strike that. We'll take that out.
Take that
Jurors
out
are
of
not
the
allowed to
equation.
consider that.
Sure.
The jury will
strike
forget
that from the
Troy's last
record.
remarks.
Can we read the last remarks again? I mean, but that is very important. But we'll strike
No,
it.
I do. I understand that, but
I am really enjoying Starfinder. I think the more we play it,
low-level
the more I'm
Starfinder
enjoying.
against low-level Pathfinder. What would you rather do?
Well, I've never played low-level Starfinder. I've only GM'd it. But
that's what I mean. I
we're
mean
talking
GMing.
just in GMing. I think Pathfinder. I think Pathfinder is always going to win, at least for the next year or so, because I have so much more experience with it, and there's so much more that I want to do with it.
Yeah.
And my experience with Starfinder is still very limited. Like you said, it's a very small sample size. Besides these 15 episodes that we've put out, I think I played once at Gen Con, and then we did a practice like a Starship Combat thing.
Yeah.
That's all I've done.
We've barely had practice, yeah.
Barely.
Barely.
And so because of that, I just have more Pathfinder stuff. And plus, I'm really excited about the Pathfinder playtest on top of that. So I think I lean towards Pathfinder, but I'm reticent to even say that because I don't want to denigrate my love for Starfinder. I really enjoy it. And I think as we get into higher level play, I'm going to enjoy it even more, even though it'll be a lot more work for me. I'm interested to see like power armor and higher tier ships and whatnot, and just more crazy weapons and high-level spellcasters when you guys take on like a 5th level technomancer. Can you imagine? Look at what like Mei Shun can do at second level.
First level.
At
Yeah,
first level.
Even at first level.
You know, it's a lot, and so I'm interested to see it unfold. But I just have more experience with Pathfinder, and you know, I really want to play more Pathfinder. I'm really enjoying Ruin so much because I get to play again.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to say Pathfinder just because.
Sure, and
it
I
was
think,
my firstborn.
Yeah, and it is a little bit of an unfair comparison. The more I think about it, the more it's 15 hours is a pretty good sample size of any game, but 15 hours versus, I don't know, what would you say? 800 hours, 700 hours
Yeah, I mean,
of GMing Pathfinder that you've had. You know, it's just, you're not even close.
Yeah.
So you have to get into a higher range of Starfinder sample size before I think you could give a really good answer on that. So
Yeah.
I'll retract that question.
I don't know if I'll ever get to play Starfinder.
I was actually thinking about that recently. I was like, I wonder if I'll ever get to play.
I was like, once we finish Dead Suns, I'll just probably run another Starfinder campaign.
Well, let's focus on what you do want to do as a GM of Starfinder, which is kill characters.
I would love to kill one of you.
Who do you want to kill the most? As of right now, as of today, episode
really put me
15,
on the spot.
who do you want to kill the most?
I mean, I really want to kill all of you. It's so hard to choose. I like the idea of Kreska wasting away from a disease. You know what I mean? I like that death, if that could happen, because that is so fucking brutal.
Yeah.
To have a disease just wear you away to death and then you turn into a void zombie.
Well, any one of us. I mean, why Kreska in particular? Like,
because she's hurting right now.
Well, we're all at the same level because it takes 2 cures to get healed.
No, but
so,
in episode 15, she went down one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or maybe we were just talking about it. I'm pretty sure.
We just talked about it. We were like, we said the next level impaired. I think it is.
No, she went impaired.
Unbelievable.
She rolled a natural 1 on the save.
Oh.
Yes, she rolled a natural 1 in episode 15, went down to impaired. So she's in rough shape. So yeah, I'd love to kill her that way. That'd be fun. Because then I feel like it's out of my hands. It's up to Matthew at this point. I'm not really killing her. It's Matthew shitty rolling.
That is nice. That's a nice out.
Yeah.
No, but I do like that idea about, just the disintegration in space. It's how quickly it happens.
Vicky says,
how awful it is.
Troy, whatever you do, don't kill Kumquat.
Keep him alive.
Can I fix your gun? I'll fix your gun.
Well, I mean, crazy events here on the Acreon. It's been a wild exploration. This whole month has been that really exclusively. And, I mean, this whole situation, I don't really need to say what it is. This situation with the hippocampus, what the hell?
Yeah.
And so I kind of wonder, you had said to me after we logged off that you were questioning a little bit how you brought it up and when you brought it up.
Yeah.
Thinking maybe it would be more of a cliffhanger, but it was in the middle of an episode. Do you still feel that way? Have you changed your mind on that at all?
You know,
or?
when we finished the episode, even mid-episode, I wanted to, because as we start nearing the end of an episode, I never know how an episode is going to end. Very rarely do I know how it's going to end. So I'm thinking like, I would love to end the episode with them seeing the hippocampus take off. But it just, in the moment, it didn't work.
Yeah.
So
we were
once
hacking in, right? We were
you
seeing the
hacking
cameras.
in, I'm like, and you were asking, can I see anything? I'm like, well, you can see the back and you can see this and that. And then I was like, well, I have to do it here.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, I was like, shit, that's such a better cliffhanger. So then I'm looking around, I'm like, what's the cliffhanger of this episode? All right, maybe they'll either open the goblin room or they'll open the trap, and that's how I'll end the episode. This is what's happening in my brain while I'm running the game and trying to find the cliffhanger.
Right.
Because we don't edit a whole lot of this stuff out, so I want to keep it as clean as possible. And then the laser blast happened. I was like, we'll see you next week. And I was bummed. I was like, shit, it would have been so much better. But then when I listened back to it, I was like, no, I'm fine with it. I think it worked out well.
Yeah,
Maybe if I could do it over again, I'd do it that way, but I was fine with it.
Well, we certainly wouldn't, stop and like, well, let's record more, and then we'll have that happen. It happened naturally, organically. We were looking through the cameras. Plus, you love the idea in these games of like the exterior closed circuit camera, like the black and white camera, and then just like you see the ship pulling away in complete silence. You're like, no, just so awesome.
They're saying it's getting really dark here. We're really limited with what we can do.
Yeah, we weren't thinking about that too. I mean, we don't have anything else really,
yeah, we're not set
unfortunately.
for lighting. It works well for gaming, but we got to get some studio lights in here. It's going to be a constant upgrade. Cannon
Well,
Fodder
that's what this isn't done. This isn't like our future Cannon Fodder streams. It's
last time was on an iPad. This time we have actual sound and a real camera.
Yeah.
Next time we'll have something else. I can always open up the iris on the camera a little bit. I might do that if you have something to talk about, just to see if we can get a little more light. So why don't you move on to the next subject, see if I can brighten things up a little bit.
Okay, we'll do. I'll just move on actually to the next podcast. I mean, androids, I think it's so great leaving at this stage where we are looking out into open space. I mean, the level of fear and concern, worry, the amount of awful things that can happen to you out there, it makes one shudder just to even think about it. So I'm excited to get into that next week. I'm going to talk about Raiders of the Lost Continent. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I think it's very possible there's people on the stream here that are not on the Patreon yet at the $5 tier. Fools, Troy. Fools that are not yet at the $5 tier on our Patreon and maybe have not had a chance yet to listen to any of our Raiders of the Lost Continent podcast with Skid GMing Ruins of Aslan. But it has been a blast. And we have 2 different guests since our last Cannon Fodder.
Yes.
And Ellie coming on and Ari coming on. And just really, oh my God, that looks amazing.
I used to be a professional videographer before I became a professional podcaster.
I used to be good at something before I became a shitty GM on the Glass Cannon podcast.
Matt GL says, turn it off. Turn it off. No.
This does wonders for my pale visage. Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
No, so I don't want to go into too much fine detail on Raiders, just because I want to give people that are watching this a chance to catch up a little bit. But that said, great role playing this month. I mean, I just had a blast playing with Ari. I thought that because that was the heavy role play episodes were with him, and it was just really fun to see him work with Skid. Him and Skid doing the highfalutin characters. I mean, it was just so funny. I was laughing my ass off. And I was laughing when it was released. I was listening to it when it was released, and I was laughing all over again, out loud.
Ari's just, I mean, nothing against the other guys in the group, but Ari's an actor. You know what I mean? Like, we're not all actors. So when we add an actor to the show, it just adds such a new element. This is like a professional actor, not to mention just an actor, but also a voiceover person, a comedian. Yeah. Like, it adds so much. I would love to, as we continue to grow, add more people like that. It really adds a lot.
And he has really loved it too. He has called me and been like, anytime you need me on there, let me know. I had such a great time. And I find myself quoting him. Like, I'm literally just walking around the street going like, is this how you were raised? To be a sniveling rat? It's just so good.
And I sniff women's undergarments.
I know, it's just highly quotable. I also loved it. It was such a good new player moment when he lost it about the knowledge local. When he was like, it doesn't make any sense.
And he's totally right.
Knowledge of what? Local what?
Do you know, Ari, you introduced me to Ari because Ari's one of your clients.
Yep.
I met him at your wife's birthday like 3 or 4 years ago. And I don't know how we started talking. I think I saw him at one of your game nights, and then I don't know what happened. I reached out to him because he said he was doing some stand-up. I said, "You want to just like go open micing?" So Ari and I like hung out for months, just going to open mics, like slogging down in the village. You know, you pay $5 and have to buy 2 drinks to do 5 minutes in front of a bunch of assholes. Comics who are just sitting there looking at their notes and Ari and I did that in the trenches for a while, and I'm so glad that we can bring him into this because he
and into gaming in general because
Yeah.
he hadn't played, and I brought him into a unofficial PFS. He played the iconic ninja.
That's right.
And he had a blast. He had a great time, and so it's always great to introduce new people to the hobby in general.
Sure.
You know, we're always talking about that. Well, there's also an epic event in the last episode. It's kind of
Controversial.
very controversial
Yeah.
here, and we're talking about something very serious happening on a rule violation, really, what amounts to a mistake in the rules. And coincidentally, and by the way, that rule is, and we always forget this, we always get this
We all have a
wrong,
blind spot for
that
this.
when you fail a concentration check to cast defensively, it does not provoke an attack of opportunity. Do you hear that, everyone? When you fail a check to cast defensively, it does not provoke an attack of opportunity. I guess this is so obvious to everyone, but when I read that, it says if you fail, you lose the spell or whatever, and it just doesn't say
Well,
like.
there's something that happens where you lose the spell, but it doesn't
you always
provoke.
lose the spell, but
Right.
it just doesn't provoke.
There's no situation that provokes
Only if you don't attempt to cast defensively.
right? Maybe we just haven't played enough casters that do that. Every caster takes a 5-foot step.
Why would you ever not cast defensively?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you provoke, and unless you want to provoke.
Well,
for
the
some
caster
reason.
usually stays in the back of the room or takes a 5-foot
Sure.
step, but she was in water, so she couldn't.
Right.
You know. Now, let me ask you this, and this is going to be not a mean question, but a tough question. Do you blame like Ellie for not knowing the rule, or do you blame Skid for attacking her, or do you just blame shitty luck?
I'd blame myself for not knowing the rule.
Right.
Like, I think that it's my responsibility. Sometimes I sound like an asshole at the table when I'm like, nah, you can't do that. And I'm also not always right. Sometimes
No.
I say that and I'm wrong.
I'd say about 50-50 with you.
Maybe 60-40, I'm wrong.
You're like, I don't think you can do that. And you're like, no, you totally can.
Yeah, but I do like to just make people aware of it just
Sure.
in case. Do you know how many times we've done this and known this, and I still blanked on
Dude,
it?
we'll do it again.
And
I guarantee.
And the fact that this has to happen is such a shame. But it does bring me to another listener mail that we got that I thought was really well timed and just fantastic. Actually, Krob, I don't know, Krob, if you're on Twitch tonight. Krob from the Twitch.
K-Rob?
K-Rob from the Twitch. Is that how it goes? K-Rob?
I like K-Rob.
K-Rob is probably better. I say Krob because my sister is Christine Ruth O'Brien, and she goes by Krob, like on her online profiles.
You also say crown like a idiot.
Like an idiot. Like a fool.
Like a damn fool.
He says, his name is Kevin. He's from Cincinnati. He says,
What's up, Kev?
I got a question for you guys. And he's basically asking, I'm going to just kind of sum it up here. There was a character death in his game, and they record their game.
Smart.
In listening back, they caught a blatant rule violation that they did not realize that would keep the character alive. If you messed up a rule bad enough where a PC's life or death was changed, how would you handle it? Would it be different depending on whether you were recording it or not? I will say we asked this on Cannon Fodder of Owen Casey Stevens. We got his reply, which I thought was great. I don't know what your thoughts are on the matter. We didn't have you weigh in on that
I'll
at the
tell you
time.
right now, I don't think there's an argument for this. I think my opinion is the truth. I think the statute of limitations is the end of the session.
Oh, okay.
If by the
So
end
if
of
it
the
happened
session,
and an hour later, you're like, oh my God, I just looked it up, and that amulet I have stops that crit from confirming.
yeah, then I would take it even further. Be like, well, did a new encounter start? If you already rolled up a new character, like maybe I have to pull the statute of limitations back to like the encounter has ended and you've moved on.
Yeah.
If you've moved on significantly, it's over. You can't go back. It ruins everything.
Yeah.
It ruins everything.
I would play.
It's dead. They're dead. It
Yeah.
sucks.
And I do agree with you. I'll play devil's advocate in one small area just to open up ideas, which is that I think that you can make it not just about the session, but about what you did with it. If you did an afterlife role play, if you did kind of like what we did in 162. If you have even just a funeral where, you know, the other characters are dealing with this stuff, all of that, obviously, no chance at all. But if it's been a session and it's the next session and they're still in the same combat, let's say, which is very possible, but you know, they said your character's dead, but they're still kind of fighting on, or it was the end of the session, they said your character's dead, and you come back and the body's still there. I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility for the character to be like, you know what I mean? Like, it depends a little bit on the narrative, how far you took the death. If it was like there was mourning, great mourning all around, then no way do you go back and undo it. But if there's a way that like the character can seem dead, but you'd be like, there was just a failed heal check. It was actually hanging on by a thread.
Right.
You know?
I mean, for me, it's up to the GM and the player at that point. Like, they have to decide. No one else should have a say in that. I think, like, if the player really wants that character to stay alive and the GM is okay with it, then yeah. But for the most part, I don't know. I think if I was the player and I went down, even because of a shitty rule misinterpretation, I would just be like, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
It was meant to be. If it wasn't going to die that way, it would have died some other way, you know. I don't know, but I'm a sadist. Or am I a masochist? I always mess those up.
Well, a bit of both, I think.
I'm a little bit of both.
I think you're a little bit of both.
The problem is I'm both, so I forget which one I am in this moment.
This is your, 10-second warning, 15-second warning? Get your questions on deck, ladies and gentlemen, because we're about to turn this fodder over to you maniacs.
This is very dangerous.
I was just going to say this is unheard of, but it's not. We just did it last month.
We should cut the mics. Cut the mics. There's no one here. It's just the two of us.
It's just the two of us.
Imagine when we have a producer. At least it looks good and sounds good.
Well, you really screwed up the light here, Larry. You idiot.
Come on, Larry. Son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch.
So we talked about everything with that.
With Raiders, I mean, there's a lot. I love it. So, you know, I don't want to just go into, that's the thing, is I'm trying to not go into too much detail here for people that may not.
Right.
But if people ask, they can ask. You guys have questions about Raiders? Fire away. I'm fine with it, but I just didn't want to offer too much. Give people the chance to opt out.
Some people were mad that I didn't allow people to cast light.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just felt like the Colonel has been in a million battles, and that was his thinking. It's like, no light. It will alert them to our presence.
I usually think that in dark rooms, in dark areas, that light will be more of a beacon to where you are. Is that silly, though, from a metagaming standpoint? Because aren't, like, almost every time you're in a dark cave, doesn't everything in there have dark vision?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, but I wasn't metagaming. I was literally just being like, Colonel Luther was like, let's keep everything dark. You know, might give us the slightest edge.
Yeah. But, I mean, I guess I don't really know enough or remember as well. I mean, is that really what did it? Anyway, I don't want to go into too much detail.
Also, the Colonel is, I think he's Madness and Darkness domain, so.
Right, exactly.
He's more at ease.
Exactly, and you and I found this out after we created the characters. Before episode 1, we found out, you know, between Tiefling and your Darkness domain, that, like, I have dark vision and have the ability innately to cast darkness.
Yeah.
And you have the ability to innately, as a domain ability, cast darkness.
Yeah.
And so we were just like, oh my God, we made these two different characters that are going to thrive in the dark.
Darkness brothers.
Dark buddies.
I think we should hit the music, buddy.
Let's hit the music. And while I'm doing that, how about get me a Shandoni?
You want a Shandoni?
I want a little Shandoni,
We're drinking
buddy.
Narragansett Del Shandy.
Del
Oh, look
Shandy.
at this. This is professional.
It's time for Listen to Me.
Sponsored by Shandoni.
On it, time for Listen to Me. You gotta cue that fucking
I hope that worked. If that worked, we are fucking professional. Can I tell you? We are pros. We are damn pros. We got light, we got sound, we got listener mail.
We had about 26 minutes of prep to get this ready.
I
and,
was here 5 hours this
I was
morning.
terrified.
Doing laundry and setting this shit up. And now look at us.
Now look at us.
122 people. We're not going to hit 200.
No, we are not. But it doesn't matter, Troy. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. These 122 people are phenomenal people.
They are.
They're the only people's questions I want to answer. I saw a good one a second ago. Let me look it up here. It was from... Wow, they just go so fast. It was from Dungeons, Dragons... Oh, no. That wasn't it. It was from Shibanban.
Got the that there
Oh,
too.
you know what? I'm on the wrong thing.
Oh,
this
you
is bad.
jerk. Well,
This
you know
is
what?
bad.
You better get on the right thing. And you ask that question. I'll move on to the next ones.
Okay, this one is from Shabanban. What tactics do you guys use to wrangle in the jokes during serious moments? It's not like I don't like jokes at the table. It's just sometimes my players get out of hand, and I want them to dig into the seriousness of the situation. Oh my God, do I totally know how that feels?
Yep.
I love a good, fun time of jokes at the table. But I mean, when you have something envisioned that is beautiful and dramatic and awesome, and people are just mocking everything the whole time, how do you get them back on track, Troy?
Whew. There was a time and a place for everything.
Yeah.
Comic timing is not something that can be taught. You literally, you learn it from your parents.
Yep.
They say. I think that even in the most somber moments, and we've done it on the show, whether it be the mistaken gunshot at Gorm's funeral, or just like having things go super somber and then coming out of it with a real corny joke, you can do it. But like, take a cue from your GM. If your GM is think of the GM as conducting the orchestra. If the GM's like, everything's soft now,
Right.
then stay soft. If the GM is staying that way, go with the GM. If the GM starts joking, then now he's opening things up, he or she. That's the best way I can say that, and I think that goes for so many things. We've talked about this before. Take the cues from the GM. The GM is trying to create the atmosphere. And part of that is knowing when to joke and knowing when to be serious. And I think a good game should have a little bit of both. I know there are plenty of games that are just jokey, and they probably have a great time.
Sure. I would never want to be in that game.
No, us, and especially us as an entertainment podcast, we want to have a little bit of both. But you got to know when to do it, and I think the best way is to take the cues from the GM. Now that puts a lot of pressure on the GM, but like that's why you're sitting in the chair.
And you know, the other thing is like the more people joke at the table, if it's like continuous and it's more and more and more and more, you get into situations that I've had before when I hang out with like your stand-up comedy buddies, which is that joking all the time means you're guaranteed that like 70% of the jokes suck.
Yeah.
So you're just putting a lot of crap quality into your own game as a player or as a GM, allowing this when you're just constantly throwing out material.
Yeah.
The whole idea of dramatic moments is so that you can save up for a good bam, a joke that lands. And those are the ones that are going to be a lot more memorable at the table. So I think it's important to not joke all the time. And that's not really the source of the question. I would say as a GM, if that's happening in your game, my best, and like you said, the orchestra analogy is perfect. The conductor analogy. I had a professor that talked about this. He was like, when not a professor, just a teacher like in high school, when students get out of hand, when they get rowdy, or when they are really loud when I first get into the room, I don't say like, all right, come on, everybody, hey, let's go. Let's get everybody, da-da-da-da-da. I will just walk in and start doing whatever I'm doing, and then I'll just like look. I'll just look at them, just stand there silently. I think as a GM, you can easily not laugh along with the jokes and just stand there and just kind of wait until they're done. And don't say like, are you done or can we move on? Just wait and then come in at a quieter tone. And say, and so then you see and then like another joke comes in, you just kind of like let it go for a second, but don't engage, don't say no, just kind of like, and this is how you deal with children. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't feed in by being like, no, you can't do that, because then they're like, that was funny that you got angry at us. And it tips the whole thing. Just making your attitude quiet and somber and waiting and.
You made me think of something which is totally off topic, but I'm still going to tell the story because people enjoy these things. I had my junior year of high school English teacher. His name was, I think his name was Jordan Dare. See you, Joe. He, in the first class, everybody sat down and he was just sitting at the desk with his feet up on the desk. Didn't say anything. People would say hi and he'd nod. He wouldn't say any words. And for the entirety of the hour-long class or 50-minute class, he didn't say anything. He was just playing media for us. So he like put on the moment from the opening of The Day the Earth Stood Still when Klaatu Barada Nikto. Do you ever see that movie?
I did not. No.
Okay, well it's a classic old movie where the alien comes out and they attack it because they think it's trying to attack him. He played like music from Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. He played a clip from Dr. Strangelove and just showed us all this different stuff and didn't say a word, and then class ended and he just walked out of the room, and I was like, this is the best class I've ever had. So as a GM, if you can find a way to command that same attention, I'm trying to connect a story that really has no connection. But that was a cool class, and Jordan Adair, you're a good teacher.
That is great.
We got some more here.
Yeah, so I don't have access to this, so if you could fire off.
All right.
And I have some here, but you go ahead.
Get access. In the meantime, Smokey815, did Troy feed Joe the Will Scry, or was that Joe's idea? Do you remember what happened?
I do remember what happened.
We actually paused the recording, and we said, let's go talk about this.
Yep.
You get behind the scenes.
Yeah.
This is why you tune in. And we started talking, and we had been talking. You and I have been talking about what's going on with Sir Will. And we chatted, and I think you
I
threw
came
it
right out with it.
Yeah.
It was the first thing I said to you.
Yeah.
We chatted, but we chatted more about, like, you were like, what? Well, where? And I started telling you where, and that is not an option to discuss.
Yeah.
You know, but I knew it pretty much right away, but I wanted to give you a little bit of insight, and
Yeah, we took like a quick 10-minute break, and we talked, and then we went back on air and just threw it to you.
and people were like, what?
What, you son of a gun?
Spaduba says, Joe and Troy, what was your guys' decision-making process for Lorc's second reincarnate? I have a cleric of Pharasma in his exact situation currently in Carrying Crown. We're not going to make all these questions just the Joe and Troy behind-the-scenes hour, but simply put, in the week between those episodes, I actually, as you were driving home, I was texting you my thoughts on the matter because you were very torn. And I said, the choice is up to you. I said, you can come back if you want to and roll on the table. You can just die, or I will give you another option. The other option is something you can't know about, but I will present it to you in a way that will make it difficult for you to decide. But the other option is very exciting, I think. That's all I told you.
Yeah, and I didn't tell you what I was thinking at all. I just sort of, because I didn't know 100% when I left the session. I didn't want to make a decision in that emotional state.
I didn't know until the moment we were recording what you would choose. I wanted you to choose my third option, but I would have been fine if you were like, no, I'm going back, or you know what, game over.
Yeah, and I ended up going with the option that I felt was the most wild card, the one that I didn't know
Door number 3.
what was going to happen. Exactly, because I just kind of wanted to see what was going to happen, because if I didn't do that, then I would never know really what was going to happen, or maybe I would know in 2030 when you told us everything that would have happened.
Right.
And so so there was a little bit of discussion on it, but it was just like we're gonna play it out on air.
Gem with 2N says, the PCs in my game are having trouble setting aside personal quests for a main party goal and cannot seem to agree on what to do ever. We spend most of the sessions arguing over what is our next step. As a PC, not even the GM, as a PC, how should I handle the frustrating situation?
That is a tough one. As a PC, that's really hard. As a GM, I think that it's your responsibility to some extent.
Start acting right!
Well, no, it's your responsibility to some extent as a GM to get your players' personal quests in line with the main quest. And that's difficult, especially in a pre-written campaign. But you got to kind of mold them a little bit and fit them into this certain matrix. Otherwise, you end up with situations like this where your players are just frustrated and distracted and et cetera. Yeah, I just haven't signed in because of the. I'm gonna have to get verification.
Yeah, but I can do
get
that
your phone
while,
out. Okay, great.
While we're hanging.
So as a PC, how do you do this? Well, PCs, it's all, I think, about carrying your own weight, right? Because you can't really tell other PCs what to do. You can try to play it like politics, right? Where you wait until after the session, and between sessions, you can talk to people or email people. Hey, I was thinking, here's a way that I could kind of make my quest change a little bit, and you could change your quest a little bit, and they would kind of meld together, and we would be going to the same place. Or some sort of pitch where just slightly changing maybe what your character's motivations are will get us to be able to get along better as characters in terms of following the main quest. talking a lot outside of the session is important for that kind of stuff. And as a PC, that's being a PC leader. Being a PC leader is not being a GM. That's a separate skill set. It's a separate thing. Being a PC leader is trying to find a way for your character to follow the quest line of another character, to make that other PC's quest line important to your character. If you have a series of PCs that are uninterested in trying to cooperate, or are like, no, this quest is my thing, I don't need you to kind of add on to it, is like, maybe you don't want to be playing with those people. I hate to be so blunt like that, but a lot of times it comes down to tough decisions like that, because you really need to make sure that the people you're playing with are open to that collaboration. And if you are all fractioned trying to do your own separate things, you're not doing collaborative storytelling. You are doing, how would you put it? I mean, just a lot of storytelling in the same room.
Everyone's telling their own story.
Exactly.
And that's not a fun game.
No. So I think that it's a hard challenge, but being a PC leader is something to really try doing, but it also can backfire on you, and sometimes not in a good way, but I think it's worth the risk. The way it backfires on you is people tell you to stop telling them how to play their character. People tell you that you are overbearing and bossy and that kind of stuff. You try not to be that way. You don't want to be that way, but you do want to try to do your best to get everybody kind of working toward the same goals. How you actually execute that is complicated. It takes time, it takes practice, but
it's a tightrope.
It is, but it's something you can do, and you should. What I'm saying is you should try, because even if you mess up, it's not worse than the current situation. So give it a shot.
Also, a big shout out to Andrew Moores, who's our super mod tonight, who's sending us all these great questions.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. You are the best.
Joe, I just got you all hooked up because we're pros. So you can log in there and see Andrew's questions. In the meantime, Timidius asks, "Hey guys, why is there no scotch on the table?"
Oh, should I go get some Irish whiskey?
Scooch?
Should I get some Irish whiskey?
I'll drink scotch on like rare occasions. Like I'll have a
monthly
glass
Cannon
here,
Fodder.
Yeah, monthly, like once a month on Cannon Fodder. Yanni Yahum, when are you gonna all put up character sheets for Giant Slayer? Let me tell you something, Yanni Yahum.
Here we
the
go.
only reason this shit isn't up is
yelling
because I'm yelling. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm yelling. I'm upset. I'm upset, Joe. These would have been up immediately. These guys refuse to send their character sheets in. It's Matthew's job to collect the character sheets. That's one of Matthew's duties. We all have our little duties. Clean the toilet, collect character sheets, clean the fridge.
Skid cleans the toilet.
Skid cleans the toilet with his hands.
Troy doesn't allow sponges.
And I'm not blaming Matthew. They refuse to send them. I think Grant is the worst culprit of all. But sometimes you guys have like gone on so many levels, you forget to like make character sheets every
it's
level.
so brutal because you don't want to spoil it with like what gear you could have some piece of legendary gear that you've got.
Or be under some spell that hasn't happened in an episode yet, because we record ahead. So yeah, it's 100% Joe, Matthew, Skid, and Grant's fault.
I will say that my character sheets have been up there for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, you will get them eventually.
I post them when I have them. Like somebody said the other day, like, hey, I know you guys are loving all these new shows, but I want to see some Giant Slayer stuff. They just haven't put them up on our shared Google Drive. Are you in yet, Joe?
Yep. Just got in.
All right. The last one was Yanni Yahum. So the next one is Green with it.
I'm not seeing the private messages. It pops up for a second and then goes away. So I'm not sure how to deal with that.
Well, you're a real piece of trash. Green with it asks, what is the most essential GM tool to help prep an adventure path besides the adventure path book itself?
The most essential tool to prep, I would say, I always say this, and you hate this answer, but it's the source books that, most essential? I would say most essential is Paizo forums and other places where people have run the AP. So if it's a brand new release AP, that's not an option. If you are going to go in and run Second Darkness...
Give me the stupid thing.
What this?
I'll fix this, yes.
Go in... I'm going to tell you where to go.
Go to hell!
If you're going to run Second Darkness, if you're going to run an AP that has been run a ton before, Rise of the Rune Lords... Definitely, I think your best resource is to go online and find a great GM either on YouTube or online that has already done this and has either written up great session recaps or has even recorded or videoed their Twitch maybe of a run of Rise of the Rune Lord, something like that. Because I don't think there's any better experience to expand your ideas and what you're going to do with the game than to see a play test of that exact AP, essentially. Seeing or reading about exactly what worked for a group, what didn't work for a group, and being able to change yours and adapt it to fit that. I think that's your best resource. If you're playing a brand new game, I would say typically if you're using one of Paizo's APs, they are always putting out source books in line with those or just before those. Those source books I find to be invaluable. Going into great detail on a city or a forest or a certain nation or whatever. Those books, things like the campaign setting, even the original campaign setting, published in 2008, I believe, 2007 maybe. Lots of great little detail about the races that are involved or the factions that you're dealing with GMing. A little bit more detail goes a long way when it really expands the game for your players when they feel like you know the depth of this world in a way they don't. It helps to suck them into the whole narrative.
The most essential GM tool is dice and whiskey. Moving on. Arturus. Hey, Joe, how are you able to juggle having a newborn and a toddler and 2 jobs? Are you human? I haven't had enough time with one toddler and 1 job. Says, who'd I say? Arturus.
I have to thank my wife. I mean, without her handling all of this stuff, there's no way that this is possible.
I think she's Arturus. She's logged in as Arturus.
Yeah, she must be. That's it.
She just wanted to thank you.
That's her Twitch handle. Yeah. No, if that was her Twitch handle, it'd be way less friendly. But only because she likes to bust my balls. But it is. I have a great support system at home. In fact, for the last few Glass Cannon recording sessions that we have had since my son was born, my parents even came up from Philadelphia, stayed in my apartment to help watch the kids and stuff like that. So there is, I have a great support system, and a lot of times, honestly, it's you guys. I mean, my wife she tolerates me. My parents love me to death, but they support this because they see the reactions from you guys when they see the Facebook posts, when they see the responses that you guys gave to our tweet about the birth of baby Joe. They see that community and they're like, we want to support this.
Our most liked Facebook post.
It is?
Yeah, second only to the picture of all of us at Gwen's first birthday.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's because you guys are the best.
Yeah.
You have a lot of heart, a lot of soul.
You said at the beginning, too, when we logged on, you were like, oh, we have so many friends here. And it sounds sappy for us to say that. Like, it sounds like we're shilling. But, like, that's the way I look at this. Like, oh, there's Jimbo Slice. There's Giovanni. Like, we've been hanging out with these people for years. And some of them we've met,
Did you just put that in quotes? They are people.
This, I'm 100% sure. No, but you know what I mean? Like,
are we being catfished?
I don't like to say fans. I'll say listeners.
Yeah, of course.
But I like friends even better. That's why we say Glass Cannon Nation. Like, especially when we have these big moments in our own life, like they celebrate with us. So it makes it a lot easier to pitch this to our, our wives and our significant others to, oh, you're going to play a game again? Yeah, but this is something more. And we never knew it would be this until we got, deep into it. But the community is such a wonderful place.
Question from Durndal. Will you guys ever do a dedicated character analysis segment? It could be analysis, thoughts on character motivation, backstory, theory, etc. Oh, God.
No!
Sorry, this just jumped off of it. This sometimes happens in GCP intros, but not as much lately, which is true. The intros have gotten trimmed. The videos for Raiders of the Lost Continent kind of hit on it, but I'd like to see more. I will say, Durndal, that I 100% agree with you that would be awesome, and it's something that I am definitely interested in. I've talked to Skid about it. Specifically about Raiders, just about saying, could there be down the line some content where I can talk a little bit more about what Nico was thinking in a given situation, but I didn't say because it wasn't right for the show. It wasn't right for the moment. And it would kind of drag things down, and it really wasn't that interesting at the time. But when you put all of these things, like you said, like you said, Durndal, in a character background, in a theory about the philosophies of this character, I think it could offer depth, you know, to the character that people that are listening week to week aren't getting. Because we're not, you know, doing a book on tape here. We're doing a dramatic performance. It's closer to theater than it is to a novel. So you don't have the depth sometimes that I would like. You can't always get in the character's thoughts. We check in every once in a while, but sometimes it's not enough. So will it happen? I have no idea. It's something that I would like to do, but I think it's a great idea.
I mean, imagine if we could do this full time. We always joke about that, but like, you know, it could happen someday. And we're here in the office, you know, 9 to 5, or for us, 11 to
5
noon. We'll do a solid 11 to noon. But imagine we're here all day. What the fuck are we doing all day? Like, we're going to edit a little bit. You're going to record some episodes and stuff. But it's going to be more like, hey, can you go live? I'll post it on social media. I want you to go live with the Nico Spotlight. I want you to go live with talk about your new character and the next AP that we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, and we can just do a Facebook Live where you're just talking about the character. Like, we can do more of that stuff if we ever get to the point where we're live. Just produce all that kind of content. If that's the content people want to see, we can do it. We don't have those capabilities now. We can barely do an Instagram post. But like, I would love to grow and do more of that.
The other thing is that it is complicated with the way that we do the show. We do so much character reveal through action.
Yeah.
And that is important to us. That's part of our style. It's part of what we want to put out there as a way to do these shows. And so completely divulging a character's backstory or all of their motivations, and I'm not saying that's what you're suggesting, but what I'm saying is it's a slippery slope. If you start getting somebody live on camera answering questions live, they may say things that would have been much better revealed in a dramatic moment in the show. So you want to be careful with that and decide very clearly what you would talk about before you went on. And that's easier said than done.
Right. Like, I won't even put Forebear's character sheet up for another month at least.
Oh, we already talked about this.
I don't want
There's certain things I don't want anybody knowing
see
yet.
any of that stuff. Yeah. So only if we aren't even going to put a character sheet up, we're certainly not going to give a little insight.
I will say there are mechanics. There are mechanics for Forebears that are essential to his backstory and are meant to not be known yet. So those kind of things are important. So drawing that line is something that's important to us.
Fantas64 says, the Call to Arts event last month was great. Do you guys enjoy seeing fans' interpretation of your characters?
Don't even get me started on how amazing.
How cool.
That is.
Right?
It is. You have to understand that we have been doing this now for 3.5 years. And
do you remember what I said to you before we even started?
No.
About, like, people drawing art of our characters?
Yeah. Oh, in general. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, imagine if someone drew art of our characters.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't say it enough. We're not frozen, right?
No.
Okay. I can't say it enough.
You are.
Yeah, this is frozen. I can't say it enough that when we were playing regularly before we were recording, this would have been an absolute dream to have somebody draw my character. Let me show you what's sitting right in front of me right now. I got this out because it just makes me feel so good inside. Who did this?
It was Paris Crenshaw.
Paris Crenshaw produced miniatures. They're kind of the cardboard sort of standard Pathfinder Pawn miniatures of our androids and aliens characters. And so I'm holding here a mini with the exact Robert Atkins art of Dax holding his artillery laser. Do you know how, like, I've never had a miniature that actually exactly fit my character, because there's always something a little different that I did than the standard. And so, like,
these are our minis right here that we use for the show. None of them are good.
No, none of them are. I mean, the Forebears one is awful. And so, to get
Colonel Luth is pretty good.
To get that character on a miniature, I'm not saying that, like, I should expect anything like that, but seeing that artwork come in, I mean, and it started early. It started early with just hand drawings of Lorc that were so, even if they were just amateur and even if they were made by people that are like, I'm just trying out art, I'm getting started in it or whatever, like, to see somebody trying to represent your character through illustration is just awesome. It's really, it makes us feel spectacular. So that's the answer.
Not only that, there was
an
an artist I saw recently on Instagram, and I liked his work so much I reached out to him, and we're working with him now. He's going to produce some stuff for us. Like this, if I was a young artist, I would totally be doing this because we're in a position now or soon to be able to start hiring artists. And I saw this one guy's work. I'm like, yep, I want to start working with you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's this call to art is also just a great forum for artists to start showing their stuff that, to get work. You never know who's watching this stuff because it's not just us. It could very easily be another person in GCP Nation who's like, you know what? I would love to commission you to do my character in my game.
Right.
Because I loved your style. Art is such a stylistic thing that when you see certain art, Troy, you look at it and you're like, nah, that's not for me. And other things, you're like, this speaks to me. And I'm like, I mean, it's fine,
Right.
But you're like, I want to reach out to that person. Yeah, sometimes it's just that style. It doesn't have to be the specific character. It's the style in which it's done.
It hits you on a gut level.
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons and Dives, who, by the way, is our weekly top cheerer. With 1,000 bits or whatever the hell that is. I don't know how this shit works. But thank you. I'm about to play for the first time, besides just GMing forever and ever. What's your advice for beginning Adventure Path with mostly people you don't know?
Ooh.
It's a tough one.
And this is as a player?
He's going to play for the first time, besides because he's a lifetime GM.
Oh,
Play for the first time, and he's playing with people he doesn't know. That's tough.
that is tough. Okay, first thing I'll say, don't do what I said earlier about correcting people at the table and reading off the rules. If you don't know anybody, just keep your mouth shut. Let them get the rules wrong for a little bit. See if it upsets them to get the rules wrong before you start correcting them. But no, outside of that, I would say as a GM, you know a lot about the range of characters you could make, races, classes, all that kind of stuff. Make a race and class that is really flexible and really make a backstory.
Be a cleric. Everybody will love you. You'll make friends like that.
Exactly. Make a buffer. Make somebody that, even from a backstory standpoint or for their motivation, is specifically designed to cooperate and incorporate.
Right.
That kind of stuff it's so easy to not do that. I mean, just look at Nico. And I love Nico, but there's an element to him that I fell into a trap that I hate falling into, which is I have an adventurer that doesn't get along with other people and is an introvert. This is every PC.
Right.
So
His family died.
Right, exactly. Don't fall into, he's real morose because of all these terrible things that happen to him. And so he doesn't really make friends or trust people. That is what everybody's character is. I think if you go into a campaign where and I think Vicky could probably speak to this. She's on the Twitch right now, creating PFS characters. You want to create characters that are going to be inclusive, that are going to be good at cooperation, that are going to offer the things that aren't classically offered. Laying out a huge amount of damage is not that necessary at a random PFS table. Having great diplomacy might be. So thinking about things like that, I think, would weigh in heavily for me.
Yeah. Send an email to the group. Be like, so what are you guys playing? What do you need? What do you need? What should I fill in?
Right, exactly.
They'll love you.
I'll fill.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
I'll do whatever.
That's the kind of attitude you should have.
And then eventually you'll become the most popular one in the group, and you can kick out all the people you don't like. That's the dream. That's the dream. Dungeons and Dragons and Dives. What do you got, Joey? I'm gonna have another beer because you know what? It's Wednesday night, and the feeling's all right.
Is that the last beer?
It's the last Shandoni, but you got a big ass Sam Adams just sitting right there.
I do, but it ain't no summer Shandoni. No. Oh, well, that is not a guilt trip. You have your Shandoni.
Well, now I feel bad. Do you want to get some scotch?
No, Astrophysicality. Let's just get some Irish whiskey out of here. Astrophysicality asks, Joe, can you talk a little bit about your process when you were creating forebears?
Discussing my process is rather difficult.
Yes.
It's nothing I can teach.
You can't teach genius.
This is Joe's process. How do I build a character that I walk away from the table feeling like I created the best character, but then people on the subreddit point out the 100 ways why it's shitty?
That would be 100% of my characters thus far. No,
He's a tank.
I appreciate the question, and for aforementioned reasons, I don't want to go too in depth with it. But I will say that it was largely inspired by my recent viewing of Hostels.
Debbie Does Dallas.
The movie Hostels, which came out last year, and I thought was a great film. I really, really liked it, and it really pointed to a lot of interesting issues, complex issues, and I wanted to explore those. And so that was kind of the motivation for the Shoanti, or going Shoanti. And then from there, a lot of the process was about what the party needed. So mechanically, I was thinking, what can I shore up? Where are the holes that I can fill? I think that we need somebody who was a little bit tankier. And so that was kind of the way that I was going. So he's a big guy with a lot of constitution, and he carries a big shield, and so that was a big part of the process, was thinking about what the party needs. And then as far as motivations go, Shoanti are easy when it comes to the giants. I've read a lot about the Shoanti because of Curse of the Crimson Throne, and they and in Rise of the Rune Lords, the Shoanti feature prominently, and they do a lot of giant fighting. And so, because they've always been out there in that same region, that same sort of blasted land that is now regrowing in Varesia from what once was the Rune Lords domain. And so the kind of the slave, they were no, they weren't a slave race. I think the Varesians were the slave race of the Rune Lords.
Or Thessalonians?
The slaves to the Thessalonians, yeah. So there is like, I think I'm getting that a little bit wrong, but no, those were kind of the prime motivations that went into him. But there's a lot more to reveal about him, and a lot of complications that this guy, Troy LaValle, knows that nobody else does yet, and I'm excited to explore those.
Trust the process, right, Jeff?
Trust the process.
Yeah, until you lose to Boston in the semis.
Hey.
And you will continue to lose. Do you want to give them a little insight of what you almost went with?
What I almost went with?
Remember, you were going to do like a dwarf something.
Oh yeah,
You were like
spitting
on a spitting around a dwarf, spitting on a dwarf, spitting around.
Stop spitting on that dwarf,
Joe. Will you please stop spitting on that?
Yes, I will say.
What was it? A dwarf? What?
It was a dwarf mercenary fighter. It was like a merc. He was like a washed up.
Were you gonna sword
merc.
and board him, maybe? Or,
yeah, sort of a sword and board dwarf fighter that they found like just in a puddle of booze in a tavern in Skelt. I thought that it was a little bit classic, a little front door. But my main complication with this character was, how do you come up with a random 11th level character? Like they have to
fit him in.
They are a world famous hero, basically, at that point. Well, maybe not world famous, but a nationally famous hero.
A superhero.
A superhero at 11th level. And so that's why I kind of ended up changing it a little bit to something a little bit more exotic. And
Here's a good question, and I lost it.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to put one more thing in. Talk about behind the scenes. I also had a backup character the entire time that we were in.
And you threw it out.
And I threw it out because the backup character was in the slave pens.
Yes.
So at the time that the slave pens were freed, it didn't really work anymore.
Cut the mic. Don't tell him too much, because I like that character.
I'm not saying anything else.
That character is great.
Yeah.
And I hope he or she comes into the story at some point after I kill 4 bears.
Next week.
Oh, there was such a good one here, and I lost it. It was good because I knew the
answer.
The answer, yeah. True. The answer was true. If you see something. Here we go. The Space Wizard asks, wondering what the major benefits are of being able to listen to yourself as both a player and GM. Have there been any major pivots in how you play or GM? He said DM, but I like to keep it Paizo tight, from listening to the podcast.
Whew.
I know it's made me, in the limited 15-episode arc of Colonel Luther, a much better player, because I feel like I can help Skid, which you guys don't do for me at all. You are antagonistic, non-helpful, what's the word? Non-contributing
assholes.
But like, I can help Skid in the sense that, like, if people,
you're the best player.
If people aren't getting where I can kind of see if Skid's like trying to get people a certain place, I can help kind of edge them along by role playing it. Or if I feel like maybe Colonel Luther's talking a little too much, I'll do with Colonel Luther like, oh, what do you think, Nico? I'll do little things like that just to try and engage other players. And that's just because it's me being a GM as a player.
Right.
And the only reason I've learned to do those things is listening back to the podcast and seeing what help that does to the overall story that we're trying to tell.
Yeah, 100%. And I applaud that. I wish that I could do that more. Unfortunately, my character doesn't fit in with that right now.
Yeah,
which
not
is,
Nico.
Yeah, which is kind of a tough part. But I think you're doing a great job with that. And I will say, in answer to the question, that it has done worlds for me. I mean, I recently did a Talk Nerdy to Me with one of our listeners. That's at our $50 tier on the Patreon. You can just chat with us. We just chat online. So I got into an online
Shirtless.
chat, and it has to be skins.
For $51, shirtless.
And in my case, it's $45. It's a discount.
Please, keep your shirt on.
Keep your shirt on.
It's 55.
We discussed this exact concept, and I recommended that in his game they start recording it, even if it's just like a Zoom on the middle of the table. Look, you're not publishing it. You don't need to have it be the greatest quality, but to be able to listen back and critique yourself as a GM, thinking, what could I have done a little bit better in that last session? I mean, I have made so many pivots on characters based on listening back to the show. There are so many times when I cringe listening to myself on the podcast.
Me too.
And this went back to, and you know what? Before I get into that, disorganized play is something that's obviously been sort of backburnered as Ruins of Aslan has come out, and I've had another baby. And that was a great example of how I was cringing at myself constantly GMing that. And I knew that it was because I wasn't in practice. I was out of practice, and I would GM for one day.
Yeah.
That was disorganized play. Was I would GM for one day, and then 3 months later I would GM for another one day for 6 straight hours. It didn't foster quality pivoting, to change things in the right way. Listening to myself really helped me know what I needed to do, but I need a more consistent sample in order to improve the quality of that performance.
Yeah.
Now, as what I was just going to say is that when I was training in speech and debate at my college, because I'm a huge nerd, but my school was like really, really good, and I had attorneys and political speechwriters and actors that coached us. One of the main things that they had us do was tape ourselves. That was like the primary way to coach. We would tape ourselves and then sit with a coach watching it, and it was horribly painful. Yeah. And they would stop it every 5 seconds and be like, here's the 6 things you did wrong in 5 seconds, like over and over and over. And it would just make you cringe, but man, did it get results. Because when you watch or hear what you're doing wrong, it resonates a lot louder than somebody being like, I think that it would be better if your character spoke a little bit louder, or what, you know what I mean? Like somebody telling you to do it doesn't have the same effect as you hearing it yourself and wanting to change.
Oh, when I was doing stand-up, I'd have a recorder or my phone in my pocket, and I would hit record as they were calling my name to the stage, just so I could listen to it later and be like, that joke didn't work. Or if I'm coming up with jokes in the moment and or reworking stuff, I'll be like, I want to remember exactly how I said it.
And I bet you sometimes the
invaluable.
timing, that was 1 second too early.
Yeah.
I hit the thing I wanted. I'm going to try 1 second later next time.
Right.
That can make a difference.
Oh, totally. Tape yourself.
The answer is tape yourself.
Tape yourself. What do you got there? There's a lot of good stuff here.
I am Jesterfest.
You are?
Where do you guys pull ideas for characters?
By the way, Agent B has now supplanted Dungeons and Dragons and Dives as the new top cheerer.
Oh, Agent B!
I don't want to brag, but Agent B is the new champ.
Agent B, that's my man
Where do you
right
pull
there.
ideas for characters? I don't know, man. Like I never get to play, so like I already have my next character kind of already working it out, and I don't know when I'll get to play it.
Yeah.
It's a paladin right now.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Yeah, I think I want to be a paladin next.
Really?
That might change, but right now I'm like all about paladin. I want to find some really cool archetype and go paladin. But like honestly, Joe, I could wake up tomorrow and be like, rogue.
For me,
what about you?
It's all just literature and movies. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it.
You're a thief.
Yeah, no, I steal and I mold and I change. I take things that I like and I eschew some of the characteristics I didn't, and I take from another book or another character from a different book and I throw it in there. That's usually my main source of motivation. Is, I mean, these days especially, where I'm so steeped in playing this now, multiple different games with different groups and stuff. Well, not largely different groups, but slightly different groups, different GM, whatever. Whatever I'm watching or reading, I'm always thinking about how does this become a character. I was reading a classic legal book. Oh, Presumed Innocent by Scott Turow. Great legal book, by the way, which, everybody's heard of. There's a Harrison Ford movie about it, but I never actually read it. So I read it, and it was during character creation of Androids and Aliens. And I actually came to you at one point, and I was like, I think I want to make an attorney.
You did tell me that.
He's an envoy attorney, and he's on the wrong side of the law.
You're out of order.
Exactly.
Right.
But it was just like, it's so inspirational to kind of pull, like, what could I take from this and use in a Pathfinder game? And then I tweak it to fit. But so books and movies, easiest answer for me.
I don't even work that way. Like, I start going through the mechanics. I choose the class that I'm most interested in playing, and then I try to find out like what weapon this person's going to use, what deity does it worship, and then I start coming up with the story from that. Like, as I'm looking at the mechanics, I come up with story ideas, and then if something hits me, I'm like, okay, that's the way I'm going to go with the story. So I work kind of, I guess that would be inside out.
Upside down.
Inside out, upside down. Dungeons and Dragons dies has taken over. Now,
He's back.
Back is the top
He's
tier.
back on top.
It's a fight. It's a walk off.
I never did like that Agent B.
Oh shit! Throw it down against Agent B.
The only reason I could say that is because we're old buddies.
I'm more of an Agent A guy, but that's just me. Linoko says, with the use of scrying being relevant now with Feyraza and the amount of oracles in Giant Slayer, how much do you feel is too much divination?
Oh, God.
When does it become too much for a GM trying to make mystery and surprises when there's an entire spell school built on finding out all the answers? Great question.
That is a great question. Well, you answer that one. I mean, you're the one who is in the middle of putting all these visions into scrying.
Yeah.
And look, I have no problem with it. In fact, I love it. But he's right. There's a concern here because you're talking about adding abilities to something that's already super powerful. As soon as you can start having even more powerful abilities, what are you going to do to stop them from just breaking your story?
I think high-level play is still very new to us, and that's something that the listeners may not know about. Like, it's very new to us. We haven't had a lot of experience with that. And as you get to high-level play, there are these classic spells like a scrying or a teleportation that like Pembroke has, and myriad other that are, I don't want to call them broken, but they're the type of spells that just are GM drags. It's a real drag for a GM. You can't see Joe, but he's nodding at everything I'm saying. He's like, yep, you're right. You nailed it, Troy. You said all the things I was thinking.
I completely disagree.
He was pouring himself a Sam Adams instead of bringing the bottle over here and sponsoring the podcast. Anyways, so what I'm doing...
They have to pay for that, LaValle.
What I'm doing with spells like that or spells like Insect Spies is putting my own twist on it. And I'm not doing that to discourage the players from...
Sorry, got to interrupt you. Zach Milbrand just upped his Patreon to $15 a month.
I'm telling you guys.
Thank you so much, buddy.
25,000. I might announce what we're going to do first later on today.
You said this before. I was enraged.
Maybe I won't. I mean, if we hit 25,000, my idea for
In the
what
next
we're going
15
to do
minutes.
first, like twitching live on page. I mean, I'm not even going to say. But anyways, what I was saying was taking spells like Insect Spies, taking spells like Scrying, and instead of like just saying it doesn't work or here's the information you asked for, I just like putting my own twist on it. And it's not to discourage the players from doing it. It's to just take a spell that can easily, I think, ruin a game, maybe drag down a game. It has the potential to ruin a GM moment or something like that.
It does.
I think it
Certainly
ruins
does.
for the other players as well sometimes, and just making it a little more interesting. So Scrying is a classic spell that I am putting a twist on, and I'm doing it specifically to really blossom Feyraz's character with Matthew. And so it's something now he and I are working on together. It started out with something that I was doing, and now Matthew and I are talking, and he's in on the joke a little bit. I don't know. I just like doing shit like that.
Speaking of which, Debrick Wookie Debrick Wookie asks, love Sir Will. It sounds like we will get to hear what he's been up to. Who is deciding his story while he's away? Is it all Troy, or does Joe get any input at all? I definitely get input on this, and we are.
I allow it.
Yeah, we're talking about it, but it's it's off the. Which I say it's off limits right now.
It's off limits.
Because it's also, you know what it is? It's being workshopped. That's what it is. Like, we don't put stuff out to you guys until it's ready, and it's just it's being workshopped right now. But we do talk a lot about it.
Yeah, what's funny is like Joe has his idea for what's going on with Sir Will, and he talks to me about that. I have my idea for pretty much where I see Sir Will ending up. You know what I mean? But I haven't revealed that to Joe. So hearing Joe's story that he tells me, totally off air, of what's happening to Sir Will allows me to kind of morph my end point for him. And the end point isn't the end. It's the, where Sir Will rejoins the story, really.
Yeah.
Because that's in my mind as well.
From Lies of Locke 37. Love that book, by the way. Lies of Locke Lamora is a wonderful book. Great way to great place to pull character ideas if you're playing Council of Thieves. Do you learn more lore from playing or from reading outside the game? You want me to answer this for you? From playing.
Yeah.
For Troy, because he doesn't read much lore outside the game.
Nope.
I think I actually learn more from I learn more outside. I learn more when I'm GMing outside the game than I do from actually playing. But I do learn a lot from playing.
Joe likes to read a lot of lore, start a campaign, and then end it after 4 sessions. I like
preference.
to create the lore and make 3-hit podcasts.
Yeah. Single-handedly make 3-hit podcasts. Also, yeah, exactly. That's the thing is mine ended after 4 sessions because they don't make any money.
That's true. But hey, $25,000 goal. We'll bring Curse back.
Hey,
you know what I'd love to bring back?
Amazing.
Wrath of the Righteous.
Oh,
Bring that back and go to the audience with your issues with the mythic tier system.
the craziest thing is how many people can say, and I think we could probably say this about our Wrath of the Righteous game. How many people can say that the best session they had was the last session they ever had, besides it being the completion of a campaign?
It was pretty great.
That was it was the finale of book 1, and and we never got back together.
You completely
again.
rewrote the finale.
Yeah, and we never got back together again.
We never got back together, but I mean, I loved that entire campaign. I was controlling 2 characters.
Yep.
I
forgot that you were doing 2 characters.
Yeah, I was playing the cleric and the
Inquisitor. That's right.
Yeah, bummer. Classic O'Brien.
So good. All right, what do I?
But he's the only one that's completed an AP by skipping book 6.
Here we go. This is a great Uptown Avondale. Oh my God, I love this question.
Uptown Avondale.
I'm starting my first game in 2 weeks. On a scale of 1 to idiot, how stupid am I for making an occultist for my debut character?
Ooh, he's got a touch of the Capita Casa.
Yes, we call that the touch of the Capita Casa.
Ooh, it can be treated. Don't worry, we can treat this. I think
It hasn't worked with Matthew so far.
when you start.
He's only made increasingly complicated characters.
He won't listen to us, except when he was like, "I'll be a vigilante," and you were like, "No."
That happened. That happened in Curse. There were more reasons for that than just that, but yes, there is. I think that is lunacy. I think that
So
is,
1 scale of 1 to 10, you're going 1.
Scale of 1 to idiot is idiot. You are a buffoon. No, it is. It's obviously an amazing class to be a part of, but. And you know what? Honestly, it isn't that complicated. I just think that for a new player, I mean, if you've listened to 164 episodes of the GCP, you're going to be fine. I think ultimately you're going to be fine.
I say stay classic, though. Stay classic.
That's what I always say.
There is when you get into this game, either from our podcast or because someone's like, "Hey, check out Pathfinder, you play once," you're like, there's always this impetus to just want to read all about it, get obsessed with it, playing 900 games, getting 7 campaigns, and you just get so into it, but you want to make the most complex character from the start because you're like, I don't want to just be a fighter.
Right.
I don't want to just be a wizard. I want to be an occultist. I want to be a gunslinger. I want to be this. I always say walk before you run. Learn to walk before you learn to run. Learn to walk before you learn to fly.
Right. Don't make your first character an archetype. You know, make it the classic class, work with that, and then see where that gets you.
It's going to help you learn the game, I think, overall.
Oh God, I just had one. Oh, speaking of gunslingers, Molson13 asks, why will you never let gunslingers into your game again?
Because it's a broken class. They hit against touch AC. Now, maybe if I wasn't doing Giant Slayer, Baron would be a little bit more balanced. But in Giant Slayer, he's a killing machine. And that's on me. I've got to find a way to get him. I got to find a way to get in there, grapple him, sunder his weapon, take him out of the fight a little bit better, and I'm working on it. 160 plus episodes in, I'm trying to figure out a way. But I just don't, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like the gunslinger. I don't mind guns in Starfinder. We talked about this on last Can of Fodder because that's just a part of the world.
Yeah.
There's a whole armor class just for that. You're not hitting against touch AC, so it's not as broken. In this, it's just, okay, 4 attacks, up close and deadly. This and all right, we get it. It slows down the game. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the gunslinger.
Yeah, me neither. I personally don't like, and I don't know if I would like it as a player. I probably really would if I was the gunslinger, but I don't like that his character within 20 feet is essentially 90 points of damage or misfire. Like that's pretty much all it ever is. There's no middle ground. He never misses. He doesn't miss an attack.
Rarely.
Without it being a misfire.
He also only rolls 16 plus.
Yeah, but I mean, look,
cheated
I've been
die.
next to those die rolls. I've seen him. Like, yeah, he rolls high a lot, but he rolls plenty of 5s and 4s, and they're hits. So that's just, to me, that's something about the class. It's just, I don't know, a little off. There was a question here that's just a quick one. That's such a good one. Here
Why
it is.
does Joe
Here it
smell?
is. It's from Origami Goblin. That's a great name.
Classic.
Origami Goblin. Have either of you read through any APs that you probably aren't going to play or run? Or do you like keeping it all unknown? Like as a hobby, do you read adventures not knowing if you'll ever play them or run them? Or do you deliberately not read just in case you ever play them?
You and I are very similar people in that we hate having things spoiled.
Yes.
Hate it.
Hate it.
This is why we're close friends.
That's why I make such a big deal about it at the beginning of this show.
Right, like don't watch if you haven't listened.
Right.
I'd rather not have people watch it.
Right.
I don't like spoilers. So like if I'm going to read something, I am reading with the intent to run.
Yes.
And so if I'm a little bit into it and I'm not feeling, I'm going to stop reading. I don't want to know. You know, the new Starfinder adventure paths, like book 1 will tell you the whole story. I would skip over that if I
Sure.
wasn't 100% sure, because why ruin it for yourself?
No, and we see eye to eye on that. I don't think we even need to spend more time on it. I don't read anything I don't intend to run because I like to keep it, you know. I mean, I'll thumb through some things just to kind of get a sense of style, but like, no, I don't read anything I don't intend on running.
I don't know if Skid said it on air, but he definitely told us that he ruined like 6 APs for himself when he was trying to decide which one to run for
Yeah.
the Patreon.
Yeah, I know you read the scary one, the psychological Strange Eons.
I read the first half of book 1 of Strange Eons.
Oh, you didn't read more than that?
No.
Oh, so you could play it.
I only remember the first 3 encounters.
Yeah, because it was a while ago.
Yeah. That's a fun one, though. I feel like now, having done Starfinder, that we could do a horror AP and it would work. Don't you think? Like, we've been playing with horror pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely am more into it now because of Starfinder.
Yeah.
Because I feel like those horror elements have just been fantastic.
And Strange Eons is very, very well received.
All right, let's see. You know what? I'm going to go to the actual mail. I have a great question here that's pretty simple and straightforward, and it's international.
International.
And you know what? I have to give a shout out to our international people. Don't know if any of you guys are on tonight because, man, oh man, is it late over in Europe. But we hate to do these where, you know, we sort of like lock out our European listeners. But this one comes from Mark in Belfast,
Mark.
Northern Ireland. He says
Belfast.
he's loving the show, but is sadly in a place where tabletop RPG players are few and far between.
It is known that Belfast is devoid of fun.
Yep. It is well known.
Look it up.
Well known.
Look it up.
The English did it to him.
Yeah.
He's thinking about starting to GM a game with some friends, but he has no experience. 0. He's never played in a game.
He barely has any friends.
His
Am I misreading this?
His question is this too much to handle? Like, if you've never played before,
Never play it.
can you start a game with players as a GM? Can you just start a new game? Is it too much? Do you have to at least play a little bit before you GM? He also says should he, can he say to the players, we're going to learn as we go kind of thing. He acknowledges that exists, but is it too much to chew? Is he biting off more than he can chew if he has never played? Your thoughts, Troy?
Can you? Sure. Of course you can. You can read through, you go in, you give your best shot. You're going to learn a lot during the way. Those first few sessions are going to be tough. But if everyone's in the same camp, everyone's going to have a good time learning together. And eventually you'll catch your stride. I wouldn't recommend it. I would find someone who knows how to GM, play in that game for 6 months, learn the basics mechanics, and
He
then go off.
obviously can't do that. That's the whole point.
There's
of the
no
question.
way he can play
You're just talking
online on Roll20 with somebody.
Playing online sucks.
I know it sucks, but like if your option is that or trying to GM from scratch and teach your friends the game, I don't know. I would learn first. I would do my formal training online and then take it to the streets.
Get a degree for the University of Phoenix in GMing.
University of Hard Knocks.
University of Hard Knocks.
I mean,
Mark,
what do you think?
do me a favor. Don't listen to this guy.
Oh,
he
boy.
is a buffoon.
Oh,
This
boy.
is why, Troy, this is why they make a beginner box. Like, it is designed to teach a GM and players at the same time.
You're right. You're right.
It's a streamline. It takes a lot of the rules out.
When you're right, you're right.
I think Troy, and in your defense, I think you're thinking about GMing Giant Slayer. You
Right.
don't really want to just start GMing an adventure path, having never done anything before. However, if you get the beginner box, and even if it's not like the actual beginner box is not for sale in Belfast, you can definitely get the beginner box PDFs online, and they simplify the rules. They kind of streamline them. They refer to the core rule book, but they just give you the basics that you need to know for character creation, and they really walk you through the basics of what a D20 system is and how it works. I think it's designed for exactly your situation, which is somebody has to GM, and they have to assume that the GM has never played before. You have to have that possibility in this particular publication that they make. And, stumbling through it, that's part of it, man. It does not matter how many games you play in. You will stumble through your first time GMing. You're going to stumble.
I played for 3 years before I started GMing Jade Region, and I mean, I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
You were like adamantly like, I really don't want to. I really don't want to GM. I just want to play.
Please play.
Right, exactly.
Please let me play.
Please just let me play. But it because it's stressful and it's tough. But yes, I think that if you communicate, to these people that have never played before either, look, I think this game's going to be really fun. We're going to get together. We're going to have a few beers. We're going to have a few laughs. It's going to be silly. Here, read this. Let's try to do it and let's learn it together. Definitely do it. It's certainly better than not doing anything. I do think it's a great recommendation to go on the Glass Cannon Discord.
Yes.
To see if you can play in a game. See if there's a pickup game, one-off session here or there. I think that's a great idea. But if you're like, I really don't feel like doing that, I get it. But I definitely don't let that stop you from playing. Somebody's got to take the lead there in Belfast. Somebody's got to carry the flag.
He could be the
It might
first
as well be you,
GM
Mark.
in Belfast.
In Belfast history.
That would be in the books.
It would be in the books.
In the books.
So eloquent.
It would go down in the books. There's little known fact, only one book in Belfast. And
Hey,
it's the
all right.
Pathfinder core rule book.
Starfighter hasn't made it there yet.
Goes down in the books. The Space Wizard says, I'm taking off work for the PF2 playtest release, and we'll be hanging out in my local game store building characters and running encounters with a buddy of mine. What will you guys do to celebrate the playtest launch, and will it be twitched?
He said that?
Yeah, the Space Wizard.
He is truly a space wizard.
He truly is.
A space wizard.
I mean, his intelligence has to be
23.
20, and he has the spell clairvoyance, clairaudience.
Clairvoyance, Has he been in the room?
Is he the ghost that plays the piano? Bong, dong. Right over there. We heard it.
Right
we
there,
heard a
dude.
ghost.
That's
right
where it was.
there.
It was right there.
Everybody else was like, "Well, we didn't hear anything." And Joe and I were like, "Oh, you mean the ghost that just played a single key right over there,
Bong.
2 octaves above middle C?" Because we both heard it perfectly. The Space Wizard. That's an excellent question. Joe, should I not answer this question?
Well, now you have to, Troy.
Now I have to.
You really kind of
I
set
can't
yourself
believe
up
that
there.
only 130 people, 137. It was 138. Somebody just left. What a fool! What a fucking idiot.
They're going to forever
Why
regret
would you leave?
leaving at this moment.
I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm not going to post this. You want to put this around via word of mouth, that's up to you. How are we going to celebrate the Pathfinder playtest release? Well, that's really not up to us. That's up to you, Glass Cannon Nation. We want to play the Pathfinder playtest. We're as excited about it as anybody. Mm-hmm. You know, we're not going to be at Gen Con this year, which sucks.
I am loving second edition.
But we will be there in spirit. When the Pathfinder playtest is released, August 2nd, I believe, at Gen Con, people are going to go crazy like they did last year for Starfinder. And then they're releasing in conjunction with that an adventure path of sorts. It's not your traditional 6-book adventure path or even a 3-book adventure path. It's almost like a series of Pathfinder Society scenarios almost. It's called Doomsday Dawn.
They truly are play tests.
They're play tests. And each part, there's 7 parts, is kind of like stretching the limits of different parts of the system.
Testing mechanics.
There's 7 of them. We have mentioned on the Patreon, if we hit the $25,000 goal, why even paraphrase when I can just log on to Patreon and read what the goal is, Joe? I mean, we're here and really taxing our internet.
I know. I was going to say, just loading times? Is that what's preventing us?
Right now, we're at 24,469. So we're, what, $531 away from our $25,000 goal?
That sounds right.
Yesterday, we were at 24,000, so we're not that far off. At $25,000 per month, we will begin streaming videos straight from Glass Cannon Studios. We've already cheated that because we've done it twice already with last month's shitty cannon fodder, and this one's slightly better. This could be videos playing board games, Pathfinder, Starfinder, Society scenarios, or even just picking up where we left off with my Jade Regent campaign, or your Curse of the Crimson Throne, or Wrath of the Righteous. It'll be raw, uncut, live, experimental testing ground, which is what we're doing right now, full of audience or interaction, and yet another excuse to share our love of gaming with Glass Cannon Nation. So my hope is that we're going to hit this goal tomorrow? I don't know, sometime in the next week or so, meaning that, well, we got to get to work. With Starfinder, when we hit that $10,000 goal, we're going to do another podcast. We're like, we're not ready. It took us a long time to, like, prepare to do that right. But with Twitch, like we're doing right now, we're just figuring this out as we go along. We're going to eventually compete with the big boys. But right now, I'm trying my best to not let perfect be the enemy of good. Because I would rather give you something than nothing. Even if it's not at the perfect quality, the quality that I want our podcast to be at. Video is new territory for us. I want it to be something that we're going to eventually get amazing at. But in the meantime, if we hit that $25,000 goal, I want to show you a sampling.
Us being crappy at it.
Us being shitty at it. No, but like showing you like there is potential here. So what are we going to do? We hit that $25,000 goal.
I'm writing this down, by the way.
With the group, with the guys, Twitch live all 7 parts of Doomsday Dawn.
You are out of your mind.
We will Twitch it live from this fucking studio, and you will watch it, and you will love it.
You will love it.
We haven't had a single audio mess up. The camera hasn't gone bad, and this is just like basic equipment.
From what I can tell, it seems okay.
We'll drop serious coin at $25,000. We will have the money to actually spend on the video budget, which is astronomical, and we will get cameras in here. It's going to be a learning process, but we will Twitch all 7 parts of Doomsday Dawn, and we'll do it towards the end of each thing. So if you want to play it, it's not going to spoil it for you. They come out pretty much, I think the first one goes from the beginning of Gen Con to August 28th. I'm like not too far off, and then they're every 2 weeks, and we will Twitch them at the end of each 2 weeks time. So if you want to play it, great, we won't spoil for you, and then you can watch and see how we did it. Or if you don't want to play it, you're going to watch it and enjoy it like you were watching TGIF back in the 90s. Full House,
by step, baby.
Family Matters, step by step. So you heard it here first. That's the plan, but we got to hit 25,000. Otherwise, I'm going to play it, and I'm not going to let you guys see any of it. I won't even let Joe see it.
How dare you?
I will sit here and play it by myself.
Yes.
And now my Iron Golem attacks the water elemental. Oh, natty 19.
Shocker.
What's the AC of the? Hold on, I gotta look at the AC of the. I'm assuming that's a hit.
That is very exciting news,
D12.
Troy. That is very exciting news.
Joe, that's what Cannon Fodder Live is about. You never know if I'm just going to say things that we didn't discuss before we went live. I get excited, man.
I sure hope we can deliver on these promises you make.
Dude, by the way, Dungeons & Dragons and Dives and Aaronerby, it's like Aaronerby? Anerb. They are fighting back and forth for top.
Wow.
Look
at this.
5,500 to 5,300.
That's amazing.
Remember when Agent B was part of the conversation?
I remember when we used to be friends.
Agent B is third. Anyway, so that's very exciting.
That is very exciting.
You guys have already done so much. I see people doubling their pledges, adding $5, adding $1 to their pledge.
Yeah.
If everyone added $1, we'd be at it by the end of the night.
That's true.
So thank you guys for everything you do.
If everybody added $1, we'd be at nearly $28,000 a month.
If I have one more of these shandies, I'm going to tell them $35,000 goal.
Don't tell them.
I'm going to tell them, Joe. Give me some of that whiskey.
I will say that the $35,000 goal is already in the works for publication 2019.
We're not just making this up as we go along.
Yeah, see, we have plans. Pre-production, as they say. Pre-production.
You're up, Joe.
All right. Equivluke.
That sounds right.
Troy, do you guys have a creative sounding board out? Oh, it's just for you. Troy, do you have a creative?
I haven't spoken in a while.
I can answer this question. Troy, do you have a creative sounding board outside of the GCP guys to broaden story ideas?
No.
No, he does everything in his own mind and works with us.
I don't like to share. No,
He doesn't
I
trust anyone's opinion of anything.
I know. I wish I wasn't that way. You know, when I was doing a lot
You
of
do talk
theater,
to your wife about story ideas that you don't tell us about.
I do tell her the story, but I have to explain to her like, well, this is why it's cool that Lorc came back.
And then she's always
this
like,
way. She's
cool.
like, But I remember.
But does she ever say like, but that doesn't make sense?
No, when I told her of my plan for episode 100, 99 into 100, she thought it was captivating.
That's
like,
cool.
maybe she'll start listening to the show. She I remember her thinking like, that's amazing. She said it to me, but like she'll still never listen.
No, never.
Yeah, no, I don't have a sounding board.
Our wives will get together frequently and never listen to the show.
No, they share that. That's why they're such close
That's
friends.
why they get along so well.
I don't know. I don't really have any friends outside of this.
No, and I will say for me personally, I have no creative sounding board. There was a time way back. I remember GCP, the original GCP Live. I remember sounding off a few ideas to Nick Lowe over a few Guinnesses because he's a great story editor and a great guy to bounce that kind of stuff off of. But I don't do it a lot because Nick Lowe is a listener and I want him to be surprised and I don't want to ruin anything for him. So no, I don't really, my friends that I respect creatively and want to talk to about it, listen to the show. So I like to keep that separate and I just bounce my ideas off you.
Yeah.
We're each other's sounding board. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. I tell you a lot of stuff.
You do. Back to Durndal, another good question. Lorc dying seemed to mess up a lot of plans that were laid out. You seem to want Lorc, this is for Troy, seem to want Lorc to resurrect. We all wanted to see him meet his daughter. Because of his death, I felt like there were a lot of impromptu decisions. I trust you know, and must have contingencies for PC deaths, but are you, Troy, satisfied with the Lorc daughter story arc?
Oh, totally. I mean, this is what we're lifting the veil. This is really what I wanted to happen.
Well, not before the episode, right?
Yeah, well,
Before killing him.
but I mean, I had complete control over when Lorc met his daughter. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could have postponed that as long as I wanted. In my head, like,
But there's no way you could have imagined that Lorc was going to die in that set.
No, but like I have contingency plans for every character's death. So I've known if Lorc died, what I wanted to do is what I eventually did.
The graveyard decision.
The graveyard decision. Now, I didn't know you would choose that, and I wanted to give you the agency of choice.
Yes.
And I'm glad you chose what you chose because I was really excited about my idea, and I don't think it would have worked with other characters in the way that it worked with Lorc. But like I've always planned that. To me, as a story writer, I just thought it was interesting to have Lorc see Jason die and never have a moment to have like a closure with that. And then to have the reverse happen. So, like, I don't know. Maybe I would have let Lorc and Shael meet, but in my mind, I didn't see them ever meeting. If I didn't see Lorc surviving, book for. And so I thought it would be cool to see the reverse side is Lorc dying and not meeting his true daughter. But Lorc is still alive. You know what I mean? In one way or another.
Yep.
So I mean, that's the way I look at it. I just think like in terms of
I think the short answer is that you are satisfied.
I'm very satisfied
with the story arc.
Yeah.
I lost it here. There's just too many for the Rose and the Lights coming in. Too many for Highbury's coming in. But
Never enough.
Padronian, our main man, Padronian, asked a question about.
I like Padronian.
Yeah, he's awesome. Asked a question about bringing back Lorc and Barry in Skyrim. And I do appreciate that. I would love to do it one day. I just have so little time to play video games or to Twitch.
What are you playing these days? Are you playing anything?
I started playing. I actually Twitched it. My first session with it, I started playing Dragon's
Dogma.
Dogma.
Oh, you told me this.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. It's really interesting. But I do want to jump back on the Twitch again and Twitch that out. But it's just hard. It's hard with the new baby at home. It's just he's up here, and you never know when he's going to pop up. And I don't like. It's nice enough that my wife allows me to do this, that I can come out and she can take care of the kids, and I can do this. It's not very cool for me to be on Twitch at 11 o'clock at night, and when he just starts out of nowhere being like, so you want to have some support there. Like, all right, I'll change the diaper, and you do this, and we'll little teamwork. That's what I can offer. So it does make me very jealous on Friday nights to watch Skid and Grant, because I'm just like, I want to play.
I know
so bad with those guys.
I know. I mean, we started the Twitch. When the Twitch, we talked about this at the beginning of the Fodder. Like, I started it and you jumped on, and we were doing Dark Souls. We did like 40 plus of those, maybe more.
I can't believe we did that, man.
And I've just become too busy running the network to do it. So I'm so glad that Skid and Grant can pick up the torch, and they have such a great community all their own on Friday night, the GCP After Dark.
I know. I'm like bummed that I'm not on the inside jokes.
I know. There's always
like they have these great inside jokes.
I got a bottle of whiskey sent today. I was like, sweet, a bottle of whiskey for the group. And I read the letter. It was like, for Skid and Grant's Friday Night Twitch. I was like, damn it, I want some of that whiskey.
We should open it right now.
Yeah, why don't we pop it open? This counts, right? It's Twitch. Wednesday night Twitch.
It's Wednesday night Twitch.
I misread it. Sorry, guys. It said Wednesday night. No, but like, in an ideal world, again, if we could ever get to the full-time position, that we've turned the champagne room here, which we were recording in our pillow fort, into a gaming lounge. So that's going to be the Twitch studio one day.
I'm seeing it right there. I'm seeing a budding Twitch studio.
You see it? I got a TV. I got everything. We got 2 game systems up there. So eventually we'll be able to Twitch
It also
from here.
doubles as my bedroom when we record until after
you have
midnight.
to crash out. I joke to you, it's like when we're working 9 to 5, just be like, all right, we got a meeting at 9, company meeting, and then we're going to play Ruins of Aslan from 10 to 11. But Joe, I need you to take a quick lunch because you're twitching Dark Souls at noon.
Oh, come on!
And if you're late, you're going to have to talk to the boss.
One of these days!
Can you imagine
One
that's
of
your
these
job?
days! Come on!
Joe, I saw your Twitch of Dark Souls. It's just, it's lacking. We're replacing you with Matthew. I'm sorry. That would be great, Twitching from the Stewed. Dude, it's 10 o'clock. We've gone 2 hours. Want to do a couple more, round it out?
Couple more, and then
I got a couple sips left
and we
here.
got to wrap it up. Yeah, we did get one question very simply. Where was it? Oh, God, I keep getting interrupted here. Boo Today asks, Troy,
Can I just
how about another
interrupt you
drink?
for a second? I just got 24 updates.
I know.
Do you see this?
Yes.
Patreon pledges. 24 people just edited their pledge. Some people edited like $100.
Yep, we're at
That's
24,691.
You guys are maniacs.
Maniacs. You know, I did. I was working on some. I was working on some finances today, and I did a calculation today that we average 7.2 new subscribers a day.
That's crazy.
Every day. Since we launched the Patreon, we have averaged 7.2 every day. New people that are supporting us. That is, I think, across Patreon, at least in New York, I think it's like unheard of.
Patreon's been around for a while, and we started in March of last year. Patreon now asks us ideas on how to make it better. It's insane, and that's all because of you guys.
Yes.
It's all because of you guys. I mean, it's cool that you like what we do, but like, It's just amazing, the generosity. I've never done that. I've never like, I really like this person, I'm gonna give $5. I didn't even know about Patreon before we launched ours. It's just it's so sweet of you guys, and I hope we can keep entertaining you for a long time to come.
Long time to come. All right, let's get a few more and then wrap it up. Oh, here we go from PoTalk1. Are we ever going to find out what's going on with Della's mom?
Guess Potok just joined in. I said earlier on, like, I keep all these storylines in my head. Della's mom, Sir Will.
So the answer is
Mr.
yes.
Coin.
So the answer is yes, we are going to find out.
Of course. Maybe, but it will. Hopefully, it won't be the way you expect it.
Yeah, you hate that.
That's what I want to do. If I know someone's expecting something, I just want to
immediately cancel it.
Subvert.
Okay, here we go. From Amazing Auto 123, with Brander being an add-on foe, did you find it hard to balance his impact on the game while still leaving enough meat on the story bone for the AP? And then I lost it. It just resets so often.
Yeah, I know, because you're trying to read down. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't find it misbalanced it. My goal is to always like not let you guys know what I'm adding and what I'm not adding. Obviously, with a Brander, it becomes a lot more difficult because you know that I'm adding it. You know that it's part of Skid's backstory that I just went wild with. But I don't find that it unbalances it at all. You know,
and
the cathedral.
The end of his question was important too. Lee, do you find it hard to balance his impact on the game while leaving enough meat on the story bone for the AP's villains? You know, are you cheapening the AP's villains by having a Brander?
I don't think so, because I think I've made Brander's mission kind of mysterious enough that you don't quite know what side of the fence he's sitting on.
Right.
Obviously, he's leaning more towards
obviously he's a
big
villain.
bad evil, but like it's a different motivation than the Storm Tyrant.
Right.
And so I want his story to play parallel with the Storm Tyrant and all the other evils and the greater evils and the lesser evils. I want it to play parallel and enrich the story. To me, it's enriching the story in the way the four protagonists that keep changing enrich it. That's the way I look at it. I don't think it cheapens it. I'm trying to enrich it. When I did a flashback of Brander in the temple, in the pyramid, do you remember? I was talking about stuff that's happening in book 4.
Yeah.
You know, and so what I'm trying to do is really just strengthen the story that's already there. And with a character like Brander, I don't know, it makes it a lot easier for me. And I got to be careful. I'm going to say too much. But listen back. Carrie Haley knows. Carrie Haley's listened like 17 times through.
She gets it.
Every single time. I'm sure she catches it all.
Temedius asks, guys, are you going to make PaizoCon again? Can we expect at least one or two of you each year?
Man, I don't know. I feel like we all got to come back next year.
I loved PaizoCon.
That's great. It just feels like our con.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So
we've already been talking with them about doing this every year. You know, it depends on our availability and our, you know, as we continue to grow, how much we can travel and how much we can spend on, you know, doing every single con and every single GCP meetup. But I mean, PaizoCon just seems like a no-brainer.
It does.
They're our main partner, and it's such a good time. And you, unlike any other con, even when we go to PAX Unplugged this year, because we're going to PAX Unplugged, by the way, in Philly, you don't get that same personal feel that you do at PaizoCon. And that's why I love PaizoCon in a different way that I love Gen Con, because you get to actually sit down and have a conversation with someone, whereas you don't get to do that. Maybe at PAX Unplugged, you get a little bit of that, but PaizoCon, you just feel like you're hanging out with buddies.
Agreed. Well, I would really like to wrap it up. I think that this has been amazing.
We done good, Joe.
You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for turning out and firing in all these questions. I can just feel myself getting sleepy. I was up at 4:15 this morning, and then didn't get the pleasure of going back to sleep, mostly because of poops. Real loud poops.
Mostly in your own pants.
Yeah. I mean, it really complicates it when I poop in my own pants as well.
It's a terrible way to start the day.
Really hats on. I have a hard time. You don't have a hard time sleeping through the night without pooping your pants?
Well, you know, I every other day. And I just roll with it.
For me, it's just an everyday thing.
Then you roll with it and it gets all up your back. No, I woke up at 5:30 because I sleep. I just take 2 3-hour naps a night. I never really actually sleep. I woke up at 5:30. I was like, I'll read some sci-fi. And then I was like, time to get up.
I know. And most of the time you're stressing about these damn podcasts.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about cannon fodder today. I was like, all right, if I hook the camera up to there, and then I do that,
And I plug that wire in there.
and here we are.
Can we listen to listener mail? Well, we did. We got our listener mail drop going.
We're
and-
less than $300 away from the friggin' goal now. You guys are amazing. Thank you for showing up for this. Thank you for giving us well over 130 people the entire time. This is a record for us in terms
So
of
awesome.
streaming stats. I mean, Joe, I think we got to just keep doing Cannon Fodder live. We won't
oh
just
my
continue
God, look at the way the
audio.
money is going up. We're $260 from
It's
$500.
I'm going to drive home.
$260
I'm going to go pee,
from
probably have another
$25,000.
beer, maybe a whiskey with you.
Yes.
And then I'm going to drive home and we'll be at 25 grand. So Doomsday Dawn, it's happening. It's happening. It's going to be amazing.
Baby.
Thank you guys. Joe, should we do this all the time? Should we do Cannon Fodder Live all the
Let's
time?
do it all the time, baby.
I think we can figure this out to get more people involved. It
no,
started
I
with
mean,
an
that's
iPad.
it started with iPad, then it moves to this.
Yeah. And now
Then the goal was, here's the thing. Here's the complication. I want the other guys on as much as you do.
Yeah.
We have to have multiple cameras. We can't do a wide shot.
Right.
It trust me, it doesn't work.
$25,000 goal, we can get those cameras.
We already have the list. Troy made the shopping list on an email in 12-point font. This is just a video thing. It's this long. It's this long of the things that we need to make a multi-camera
It's like a
shoot.
book size.
Yeah, to make a multi-camera shoot work with all the equipment and everything. We're going to get that together. We're
Yeah.
going to get everybody on Cannon Fodder, and it's going to be awesome. And then you're going to definitely see more, which I really want to do more of. You're going to see more character spotlights, which
Yeah.
is really going to be more like, how much of you are you still obviously people are enjoying playing the character, but like what has surprised you about the character? What sort of things were you not planning at the beginning that you're now doing with the character? And I don't want to talk about those characters without those guys here.
Right.
So, and Ellie included. So we're going to get them here and we're going to get the multiple cameras going. And month by month, man, it's just going to get more and more professional, especially as we hit that 25K.
It's crazy, like, to think how much we've changed in just 1 month of Cannon Fodder. And so even when we go live with our first Doomsday Dawn, because it's obviously happening, how much better it will be even a year later. So I hope you guys enjoy watching us grow, because we enjoy just getting better and better and better. But with video, I just want to put it out there rather than wait another year until we have, a fucking $100,000 studio. I'd rather just get it out there and slowly get better over time.
We just
I'm
got
not gonna do
another
that with the
$18.
podcast. We just got another. We gotta go. This is just too much. I need another beer. I gotta go pee. This is 2 hours is too long.
You guys are the best. We'll see you next month.
That's it. But no, this is the awkward part. We have to walk over and shut the camera off. Just keep dancing. Keep tap dancing, Joe. You son of a gun. Look at this guy.
Keep dancing. Better than you ever seen. Better than. Oh my God, you just not. Well, you can stop the recording without stopping the Twitch.